All right, there we go. I don't know. I started the show and then it got a little bubble that popped up that said your stream has unexpectedly stopped. So I had to do it again. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. It is Tuesday afternoon. I'm Pugs Moran, live from the south side of Chicago in the beautiful Kelly Moore Memorial Studios here on Radio Misfits, radiomisfits.com, and all that entails. Every day we get together here and we talk about current events, hot topics, whatever it is that I'm interested in. And that really is, I'm the editor of this little thing. So it's really whatever I'm interested in. We don't do a whole lot of political stuff. Why? I think there are so many other more interesting things that we can disagree on and fight about that don't have to have anything to do with how we voted. So I try to avoid that kind of stuff. But we do every day around about noon. We get together and we hang out and we talk about stuff. And I have a chat room. We have a chat room. It is a royal we. The gathered chat room. Every day in the chat room, I like to reward the people who are in line at the door when we open them up. We call it the podium, just like in F1 racing. First, second, and third place receives the podium. So let's see who we got today. Let me go to the very beginning. We got people in. I'll say hi to everybody. Look at this, Mikey D. Mikey D first through the door, kicking it in. And I hope you're a gentleman, Mikey D, and I assume you are, because then I would have expected you to hold it open for Taronda in second place and Jen S in third place. All right, thank you, guys. That's Mikey D, Taronda, and Jen. That's our podium for today. Now, who just missed out? Who was number 4? Who came across the checkered flag? Al. It's Al. Look at Al. All right. More people. Come on, join the chat room. We'll get more. That's it. That's it for right now. It's just you 4. Well, I'm sure that will improve. I am sure. We got a lot of stuff we got to talk about today. Whole bunch of stuff we're going to get into. Let me run down some of the subjects that I'm going to be dipping my toe in. First, we're going to cover, as we've been doing all week, it's the busy season for our United States Supreme Court. They cram an entire year's worth of work into 2 weeks. Remember, talked about it yesterday. The first week in October, that's when, a whole bunch of stuff gets done. And then this week, the last week of June, is when a whole bunch of stuff gets done. So here we are. Yesterday, we covered some of the big decisions that were made in the Roberts Court today. We got more big ones. So we'll talk about those. Not with any great expertise because, I'm a regular guy. I don't know all that much, but we'll talk about what was said, what was decided, and how we're being told that's going to affect us. So there you go. We'll get you caught up on the Supreme Court today. Also, there's a story that I want to get into. Some parents. Bad parents. Flint, Michigan. I don't know if you've seen this story. These parents, they had a child who died, which is a terrible thing. And, you wish that on nobody. I mean, the worst thing a parent can go through, their child died. However, authorities there in Flint, Michigan, or whatever county it is, we'll get to that. We'll get to those details. They're charging the parents now with murder of their child, second degree, I think. Again, we'll get into the details there in the story. But here's why. Their 7-year-old son died. Their 7-year-old son was 4 feet 2 inches tall and 255 pounds and died at 7 years old of cardiac failure. He died from heart disease at 7 years old, 255 pounds. So we're going to have to talk about that. That is a really depressing story. Bad parents, to be sure. Why does this happen? I have a theory and I'll share it with you. Also, we're going to stay in the state of Michigan really quick. I'm always keen to poke a little fun at the people across the lake from me here in Chicago. So Michigan is making news again, this time over on the Detroit side. Terrion Arnold, you following this story? Terrion Arnold, one of the truly great young cornerbacks in the NFL, starting cornerback for the Detroit Lions there. I think he was like the 20-something first-round draft pick out of Bama. Terrion Arnold, man, his career is over, I think. It seems pretty bad. He's been charged with kidnapping, assault. Oh, it's crazy. We'll get into the details there of the Terrion Arnold situation. Then we're going to stay with football a little bit more. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills and their new stadium. Now, why are we talking about this? I don't give a shit about the Bills. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills and their new stadium because of a decision that they have made to rewrite their history. The Buffalo Bills have decided that O.J. Simpson is no longer a part of their personal history. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how dangerous that is. You can't make people non-persons. You just can't. So we'll talk about that. The new Buffalo Bills stadium there opening up. It did open. It opened like a couple of days ago. No OJ. OJ was never a part of the Buffalo experience. Never. You're lying if you have that memory. We'll talk about that. We'll also go into how other teams have handled disgraced athletes. And I was a little surprised to learn that there are a whole bunch. Not that there are a whole bunch of disgraced athletes. I knew that, but I didn't realize that so many teams have taken similar action to what the Buffalo Bills are doing. And that's a little troubling to me. So we'll go through that whole list today as well. Diana Russini staying on the football theme. Don't know why. This wasn't intentional. There's not, this isn't a football show, but Diana Russini has new body cam out. Well, it's not hers. It's the cops. She told the story on Stugatz and Company. Stugatz, I don't know if you ever listened to that podcast. Stugatz was a part of Levitard's show. Really good show. It's good. It was a good show. It was a well done show. Still is. But Stugatz has his own thing, and because of his association with Dan Levitard, he gets some pretty good guests. And a while back, he interviewed Diana Russini, and she told a story about how she was pulled over and she used her football connections to get out of a ticket. Well, guess what? That story's not entirely true, at least the way it was presented by Diana Russini back then, but we've got the body cam. So we're going to watch what Diana Russini apparently did with the cop there in New Jersey when she was pulled over. Also, we've got, Kevin Spacey. We're going to talk about Kevin Spacey. Yeah, he's back. And thank God. I'm glad he's back. He's a brilliant actor. I love everything that Kevin Spacey has ever been in. Well, I don't know about everything. I think he was forced to make a couple of movies recently because of, his situation that probably aren't that great. But Kevin Spacey sat down with Bill Maher on Sound it out. Hold on. There we go. Sound it out. Club Random. Kevin Spacey sat down and talked about everything. Like everything. He hasn't really spoken about what's happened. Fascinating interview. Almost 2 hours of just Bill Maher and Kevin Spacey talking about the whole thing. And I want to share a couple of clips with you. And I also want to encourage you that if you're interested at all, it's a fascinating interview. And I've got some takes on Kevin Spacey. I'm pretty consistent. I say I separate the art from the artist. I like to try and appreciate whatever the artist can create from nothing, because that's what art is to me. You got a blank page and suddenly there's something there, and it doesn't matter what it was. If you created it out of nothing, you have a right to say that this is your art. Well, I know a lot of people get mad at that, but that's what creation is. So I want to... we'll just listen to some of it. We'll get into the whole Kevin Spacey thing. I will tell you my very polarizing take on the Kevin Spacey situation, and we'll listen to his own words. It was a fascinating interview. Club Random, Bill Maher's podcast, which, by the way, is so much better than Bill Maher's actual HBO show. I barely watch Bill Maher's HBO show, but Club Random, he gets really good guests. And guess what? Bill Maher's a pretty good interviewer. He's a fearless interviewer. He asks anything. It's pretty good. All right, so we'll talk about that. The return of Kevin Spacey. I welcome him with open arms because I'm not a homophobe. You people who are still mad at Kevin Spacey, you're all just homophobes. That's right. Let's see here. What else are we going to talk about? We're going to bring back a story I did yesterday. I gave you my review of a new film, a very, very provocative film. And speaking of polarizing, Citizen Vigilante. We talked about that. Well, guess what? Didn't realize this when I watched it. Apparently, me and MAGA have something in common. MAGA loves that movie. Although I don't think for the same reasons that I do. And we'll get into that very important distinction. So we'll bring back a little more talk about the polarizing new Armie Hammer film. Is it Hammer or Hamer? It's Armand Hammer. Armand Hammer was his grandfather, right? Okay. Armand Hammer, by the way, for people who don't really know who Armand Hammer is, holy shit. I don't know why history has forgotten that guy. Well, maybe if I delved a little bit deeper, there might be some revelations. He didn't like Jews. I don't know why Armand Hammer hasn't really been remembered, but this guy in his time was Elon Musk. He was basically Elon Musk, except he had, well, no, because Elon Musk now has direct ties to politicians and, he's served as a semi-quasi diplomat kind of thing. Well, that's kind of what Armie Hammer or Armand Hammer, that's who Armie Hammer is named after, his grandfather. That's kind of who Armand Hammer was. By the way, the Arm and Hammer baking soda thing? You know that? Hold on. I gotta check something I'm about to say with AI. Hold on, guys. Bear with me. Sometimes I just say shit that I think is true, but now with AI, I can check it to make sure. Hold on, guys. Hold on. All right, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. So Armand Hammer, who I just called the Elon Musk of his time, was so famous that the Arm and Hammer baking soda company is named for him. He has nothing to do with it. He didn't own Armand Hammer or anything, but he was such a well-known name that they named their product reminiscent of this guy's name. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Actually, no, we won't go into the whole Armand Hammer thing. We're going to talk about why MAGA loves Citizen Vigilante, and why I think their reasons for loving it are a little different than my reasons for loving it, but okay, we'll explain that. What else are we going to do? We got some breaking news. I want to say something. I don't have this scheduled, but I've just been triggered by, I want to say something about this Great American Fair. And maybe I'll do that now. Maybe I'll do that right now. So, the Great American Fair that's going on. What's it called? The Great American State Fair. Okay. All right, let me show you something. So this comes to us from yesterday. Well, watch this. This has been going around. Everybody's having great fun at this. It's Dr. Oz and Dean Cain, right? Okay, so these are the attractions. I guess it's so one of the attractions at the Great American State Fair happening right now there in Washington was a sit down with Dr. Oz and a guy who played Superman on a show that like very few people watched, but whatever, he's still a name, I guess. So watch this. This is Dean Cain and Dr. Oz talking to what can best be described as a smattering of people in attendance there at the Great American Fair. Listen to what they say.
And it's because there's tons of people here. It's a huge space, and it's just going to get more and more crowded as the week goes on.
Okay. All right. So, obviously, that's the joke. The joke is that these people are so freaking duplicitous, and they are always selling. Now, you got Dean Cain and Dr. Oz sitting here at the Great American Fair talking about the large crowd and all that stuff. Well, they're lying. That's clear. I don't know why they do this. I mean, we can see with our own eyes that nobody is there. Stop acting like it's, this great, crazy thing. Now, that's a fact that we just heard one more time. We'll listen to them again. They're just lying, which is just,
And it's because there's tons of people here. It's a huge space, and it's just going to get more and more crowded as the week goes on.
Not only do we have a lot of people here, we have people that you want to have here, like Stacey Garrity. That woman's going to be next governor of Pennsylvania.
There we go.
Yep, look at her, that beautiful red hair.
And it's because there's tons of people here. It's a huge space, and it's just going to get more and more crowded as the week goes on.
Not only do we have a lot of people here, we have people that you want to.
All right. So I'm battling hiccups. Excuse me, because I have a very important thought on the whole Great American State Fair thing. This is how petty we are. This is I always try to point out. I got the hiccups. This is a problem. Haven't had hiccups in quite some time. Used to get plagued with them all the time at the start of the show. Don't know why it's happening now. Hasn't happened in a very long time. Damn it. Hold on, guys. Hold on. The hiccups will stop, and then I'll make my point on the Great American State Fair. All right. It seems to have worked. It seemed to be okay. All right, let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, so Dr. Oz and Dean Cain are up there on stage in front of like 20 people going, the crowds are huge. Just come on out. And everybody's here and it's happening. They're selling. They're lying. We're looking at it. There's not that many people there. Now, I imagine, or I believe that is also being recorded for a podcast. So the intent is that the people who are going to be listening are going to think, wow, that must have been a real success because they said it was. And we saw with our own eyes from the person who was there filming that there was nobody there. They're just lying. Okay, fine. That's what they do. They lie. They're salesmen. They're always upselling. Now, here's where I sort of break from the narrative there and why I think it's petty. The left is celebrating this just like they celebrated the reflection pool. And as someone in the middle who finds most of the behavior of the right despicable, I also find a lot of the behavior of the opposition to be despicable. And, you know, I have been crying out now for years for us to have some semblance of a real opposition and not a bunch of petty whiny bitches who are playing the whataboutism game endlessly. Ha ha! Nobody showed up to Trump's fair. Ha ha! That's what they're running with. And here's why it's petty. And this is why it infuriates me. Because this weekend, the 4th of July, that place is going to be jammed. That place is going to be jam-packed all weekend long. You can go and do your little end zone celebration here, but it's only the first quarter. That, where there was nobody there, was Monday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. on a Monday. Okay? Did you think there was going to be crowds, a sea of people for like 8 days straight? I don't know how long this thing goes on. I think it goes on through the 4th of July. What? But to pretend that, oh, look, everybody hates it. He's so unpopular. Nobody even wants to go to his thing. To pretend that that's the truth when we're talking about a Monday afternoon at 11 a.m. It's not even afternoon yet. It's late morning. And you're trying to use that as a way to sort of end zone dance. It's beneath any dignified opposition. I am so sick and tired of the petty bullshit. I don't know if the ballroom's petty because that's starting to turn into quite the albatross. That ballroom's, but the reflecting pool, definitely petty. We would have anybody would have no problem if Biden or Obama or Bush or any other president decided that for the 250th anniversary that they were going to put some money into a sort of reclamation project for the monuments there in Washington, D.C. Nobody would have a problem with that. But because it's Trump, and I understand, because everything he does is shady and everything he does has to be looked at sort of cross-eyed, I get why we're questioning it. But the very idea that this reflecting pool has turned into some, well, and he's done his part too, though. President Trump has played into it where he has made the reflecting pool an important part of his image or brand, which no other president would have done. No other president. If you had asked, like, say, let's say Bush did this. Let's say W. Bush did this, okay? If you had asked him in a press conference about what was happening with the reflection pool, President Bush would have gone, what? I don't know anything about that. That's the Parks Department. Why would see? This is why Trump has turned this into a thing, because he has personally embraced the very tiny things that have nothing to do with what a president should be focused on. He's now made the reflection pool a big thing, and the opposition has now turned it into a whole tit for tat petty bullshit. Again, I recognize the pettiness on the left running with it, but this guy, he leans into it. He makes it easy for him. So my end thought on the Great American State Fair is that it is just a little bit ugly to watch the left end zone dancing on a Monday and a Tuesday, pretending that nobody is going to go to this thing. When will the same accounts that are joking about nobody being there, will they be putting up posts when there's like 100,000 people there on Saturday? Because there will be. Stop it. Anyway. Look at me. Look at me. The pettiness on both sides. And I guess the argument would be from people on the opposition is, well, that's how this war has been fought. That's he made the rules of this war. He's the one that began with all the petty stuff. So we must meet it tit for tat. I guess that's the argument. I don't know how that speaks to one side being better, like humanly better than the other. It doesn't. It shows that both are petty and they're trying to win tiny little social media fights. I hate it. I hate it. All right. You know what I don't hate? You may have noticed I am today wearing my White Sox hat. That is because we are alone in first place. And why are we alone in first place? Because of you, the fine Texas Ranger fan. Thank you, Texas Rangers. Rangers went into Cleveland. Yeah. Rangers, what is it, 5 in a row? Hey, how about our Rangers, huh? Turning it around. Let's stay hot. Let's stay hot, and let's beat them again in Cleveland tonight. Come on, please. Thank you, Texas, for putting my White Sox in first place. You did that by defeating the Cleveland Indians yesterday there in Cleveland. 2 more games, Texas. 2 more games. Do not take your foot off the gas. Thank you. All right. So that explains the hat. Who else we got in the chat? We should say hi. More people are in the chat room now. We said hi to our first three in the chat room today. Once again, our podium. Let's say thank you to Mikey D, Taronda, and Jen. Let's see. Say hi, people. You know, I need you to say hi. Byron's here. Someone say dead child. Yes, there's a dead child. Did I get your attention with dead child? Barney's here. Howdy, Barney. There's Barney. We got Adam. Look at Adam. We got Auntie. It's Maddie. It's Maddie. And you know what? Maddie tipped the show yesterday. Thank you to Maddie. We're going to add Maddie's name to the Wall of Honor. And unlike the Buffalo Bills, if you were to murder a whole bunch of people, you would stay on my Wall of Honor, because whatever you do after doing this thing, it doesn't negate that you did this thing. Okay? You did this thing. So thank you. The people who have supported this show. Maddie, first tip in like days. Thank you, Maddie. Jen H, Leslie C, Tracy D, Peter. Where has Peter been? I have not heard from Peter. I'm stalking Peter's like Facebook page. I'm like, is he posting? Is he? I worry about my chickens. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Barney. Thank you, Mama B. Thank you eternally to Heidi and April. Thank you, guys. You guys are the best. If you want to support this kind of talk radio, daily talk radio that doesn't wear a suit, that's right. AM talk radio. Oh, my God, it's so gross. You go and you look at these guys in the studio, and they're wearing shirt and ties to do radio. What the hell? If you're sick and tired of only one kind of talk radio, conservative right-wing talk radio, if you're sick and tired of that, then this is for you. It's what we do. I'm neither conservative right-wing or lefty crazy. I'm just normal. I'm just a working class guy who wants to be fair to people, who wants a decent price of gas, who doesn't want to pay $10 a pound for ground fucking beef. Excuse me. Ground beef is so expensive, you guys. And eggs, I think eggs are back up. Are eggs back up? I couldn't buy eggs at the store this. I went to buy eggs. They're usually like $2.99, I think. I think that's something, a dozen eggs. They were $4.99. They were $4.99 at the Jewels. Ugh. Everything's so expensive. It's a problem. It's a problem. All right. Let me see. Go back to the chat room. Who else do I need to say hi to? Thank you, Maddie. Maddie's a part of the show. So when I really appreciate it, because the show needs help from anywhere it can get it. But when someone who's like a part of the show, who actually does work on the show, then actually puts their own money in, I feel like it's like me putting my own money in. So thank you. even though it's not. Like, it's not me. I know. Maddie's like, yeah, well, you didn't put money in. I did. Yeah, I know you did. So thank you. Appreciate the help. Let me see here. What do we got? Happy Mask B. Is this? See, it's like I get excited because it's like a new person, but this ain't a new person. All right. A 5-4 Supreme Court strikes down President Trump's executive order limiting birthright citizenship, confirming the Fourth Right Amendment. Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that stuff. We're going to get into it. Look at him. Look at Adam being a dick. It's like breaking news like 2 hours ago. All right. Be nice. I appreciate that, April. But you best believe that I've already got that here loaded up for the show. Adam says, and the reflecting pool is an own goal. He didn't need to paint it at all. It wasn't maintenance, as you keep saying. Shut up. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was just upkeep. It was just trying to make it nicer. That's all. You're so petty. So petty. But I do agree it was an own goal. As I said, any other president, if you'd have been like, hey, what's going on with the reflecting pool? They'd have been like, what? What's the reflecting pool? And they'd be like, you know that big thing in front of the Lincoln Memorial? Oh, yeah, I don't know. We'll get back to you on that. I'm the fucking president. You think I know about pool maintenance? What the fuck? But our weirdo president, he makes these things a priority. That's a bit of a problem. Let's see here. Barney says the fountains are magnificent, so they focus on the pool. The fountains are, everything is magnificent. The pool is magnificent. Everything is fine. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Let's see here. Frankie says, celebration of the 250 years of the United States is terrible for the left. Let's focus on decline and slavery and the Indian Wars. Well, I mean, look, Frankie just thinks everything's perfect, I guess. I guess Frankie thinks there's nothing that needs to be addressed about the last 250 years and that it's all just good and everything's great. Shut up. That sounds as retarded as what you're accusing the left of doing. Just stop it. 250 years of this country, and we are in severe decline. And Frank thinks it's odd that normal citizens might be like, well, maybe we're not all fucking cakes and cookies around here. Maybe there are some things that we need to address that are currently happening in this country, Frank. But no, go ahead. Live in your shell, turtle boy. Let's see. Got to win in the Supreme Court. She's obviously lib femme, obviously taking that as a win for her side. I take it as a win for all sides. I think that's why there was a 6-3 decision. We'll get into it. Normal people see that as a win for America. Still nothing. Look at this. What are you talking about? You bought eggs for $1.45 yesterday? Chicago, you suck. Fuck you. You suck. Yeah, I'd like to get me some eggs. Hold on, let me see what eggs cost. What is the average price of eggs in American grocery stores from coast to coast? Byron out here paying $1.65 for fucking pigeon eggs. Well, it says 219. It says 219 is the national. Hold on. What is the average price of eggs in North Texas? I'm telling you. Out there eating. $2.50. $3.35 per dozen. All right. So I don't know what kind of eggs you were eating there, Byron. Byron's out there eating pigeon eggs. Because Byron doesn't support regulation. So the grocery stores that he goes to, they can sell pigeon eggs and just say they're chicken eggs. Because regulations are for losers. All right. I think Adam's talking about the president here. It says he needs more people that tell him no. That's the problem with this fucking guy. The Supreme Court did. So need more, I guess. Where are you shopping, pugs? Chicago Walmart has a dozen eggs for $1.47. Where? I'm sure you find that online. Hold on. Jewel is where it was $4.99. What is the price of eggs currently in the Chicagoland area at Jewel food stores? Let's see what they tell me. Average is so at Chicagoland Jewel Osco stores, a standard 12-count carton of Jewel brand grade A eggs costs $3.99. I paid $4.99. It was on Sunday. I said I ain't paying $5 for eggs. It was $4.99. It says here it's $3.99. However, as it turns out, I may have been looking at Jewel large eggs. I may have been looking at the jumbo, because that jumps up to $4.39. All right. Eggland's Best. Oh yeah, those are the yuppie eggs, right? Eggland's Best. There has never in the history of America been a name brand associated with eggs. We go to the store and we buy eggs. Sometimes we buy eggs in a carton that says the name of the store. Sometimes it's another thing, but it's never like the same brand. I guess weirdos. I guess there might be weirdos out there who are like, I only like Eggland's Best organic eggs. What? Eggs are eggs. They're either spoiled or they're edible. That's eggs. Now apparently we've got a national brand, Eggland's Best. Didn't need it. Didn't need a national brand associated with eggs, but we've got one. Same with milk. There is no one singular milk brand that we all know in America, right? It's not like there's a Coca-Cola of milk. It's all just whatever is cheapest, and we look at the dates. It's a different brand almost every time. It's a different branded dairy every time. Maybe not. Maybe I've just never noticed. Maybe it's because milk doesn't do commercials. Milk and eggs have never advertised. Well, milk in general has done the milk mustache. It does a body good, but that's not like for a milk brand. That's for just drink milk in general. All right. This show's already spun off the wheels. I don't know what to make of this show already. Look at us. All right, let's get into the big stories of the day. The big story. This is why some of our people have gone to Twitch. Apparently, there's a more liberal bent on Twitch. Maddie says, God, I'm so glad I don't have to see Frank's post anymore. Indian War? What's he talking about, Indian Wars? I don't want to get into it. Adam's got a great point. He says America is like your family. You can talk shit about it, but others can't. I kind of agree with that. That's kind of a nice, succinct way of putting it. Like some dude from England comes over and he's like, oh, I'll tell you what's wrong with America. I don't want to hear it. But if some dude from Ohio is like, oh, let me tell you on America. Well, I don't want to hear that either. If I'm being honest, I don't really want to hear individual takes on what America should be, whether you're from Ohio or England. Boom. Barney in the chat room says, why they always bringing up old shite? Well, it's coming from Barney, so I'm guessing the they is the left. I don't know. Old, but I do like the suggestion from Barney that the right never engages in that. Never. Why are they always bringing up old shit? You got a president who is still blaming Clinton for stuff, dude. What are you talking about? Okay. Kroger's, just random Kroger's. I'll tell you what, living here in the Chicagoland area, I would kill for my Kroger back. I loved my Kroger. in my Kroger, the one at Mockingbird and Greenville, right there by SMU, that Kroger is amazing. That is like the greatest. I don't know who the manager of that grocery store is, but he needs to be commended because that dude is just fantastic. I don't know what to say. You go to like the frozen food section, they've got a whole row of stuff that is like last chance. Usually you go to a grocery store and you find that last chance little frozen food thing where it's got all kinds of great deals, just stuff they bought way too much of. And so now it's like $1 each. Most stores just have one of those. That Kroger has like a whole wall of them and it's filled with shit. I still have Totino's pizza rolls. I still got them. Those things will keep. You just stick them in the freezer. I love that Kroger. There aren't Krogers here in Illinois. The closest thing that we have is a Kroger-owned store called Mariano's, and that's where I can get my Kroger Pop because I love my Kroger generic Coke Zero. Because Coke Zero with the Coke branding is like, I don't know, what, $3-4, something like that for a 2-liter bottle. The identical tasting stuff from Kroger is $1 or $1.25 now, I guess. It probably went up even more now. But yeah, I would kill to have a Kroger here. We don't got that. Let's see here. April says it's Orland Park. The Orland Park. That's my stomping ground. That's where I was raised, born and raised in Orland Park, 15709 Orland Brook Drive. Condo right there. That's pretty, but not my part. I lived in condos, but that's like a really nice suburban upper middle class kind of. Although it's a Walmart. Walmarts don't really play that game, right? A Walmart is a Walmart if you're in a shitty neighborhood or like a nice suburb. I don't know what to tell you. I bet you if I went to that Walmart trying to get the fabled $1.67 eggs, I bet they'd be all gone. I bet they'd have the $3.99 ones though. Probably have a lot of those. All right, this is serious. Well, I'm throwing everybody under the bus, Maddie. What? Don't get tired of it. That's stand to your convictions. And I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. That sounds terrible. Let's see here. Adam's got some information on Eggland's Best. Eggland's Best does taste better, not gonna lie. No, they don't. What, eggs taste better? How are you making your eggs? I mean, my eggs have salt, pepper, and scrambled eggs, Worcestershire sauce, and a little bit of sour cream. So all of my eggs taste freaking awesome. I'm a good cook. So what do you mean they taste better? What are you like, just cracking them and going, oh, this egg is much better. You doing it Rocky style? All right, let's see here. Yes, I can. Yes, I can go to Mariano's in Chicago. They are owned by Kroger. However, the Mariano's in Chicago doesn't have the same Kroger location. And Mariano's in Chicago is trying to be Whole Foods. They're trying to be fancy. They like, ugh, I don't like it. All right, Maddie is getting tired of it, period. I mean, are we not supposed to? I don't know. All right, and now Byron's getting mad. All right, we're done with that. We're not going to inflame that any more than we need to, because that's just silly. Anyway, I'll go to the store and I'll see if I can get some reasonably priced eggs, because I tried to make breakfast tacos for my kid this morning and I only had one egg. I'm like, that's right, I didn't buy eggs because they were $4.99. All right. Let's get into the Supreme Court talk. Supreme Court, like I say, they work 2 weeks a year, and then they walk around acting important the rest of the time. This is the time of the year, though, when the decisions get made. They've had apparently all year since October to consider these very important things, and this is when they, it's like the Supreme Court justices are a bunch of kids sitting out in a hallway before class, just scribbling their homework, just because they got to get out. It's summer break coming. Alito, who, as it turns out, is alive. Who's the one that I confuse Alito with? Yesterday, I was like, Alito, is he still alive? Well, he's very much still alive. Who was the other one that was like Alito who died in his bed? He died like a couple of years. Scalia. That's the son of a bitch. That guy. All right, he's dead. He's dead, and Alito is alive. Yesterday I talked about some of the decisions that were made yesterday, just to recap, because I think we've even got more coming. Is there more coming tomorrow, or are they done? Do they only put in 2 days the final? Well, Sotomayor needs to do some boogie boarding this weekend, and she needs to get her boogie board out of the shop, so she needs to be off on Wednesday. She's got a boogie board fitting. Yesterday, they made a couple of pretty sizable decisions concerning the Fed governor, Lisa Cook. Trump can't fire her. They say, you can't fire her. So I'm sure that made him mad because he's the "you fired" guy. They can't fire her, so she's going to be okay. However, they did give him added powers. Like, they take it away, they give it a little. They gave him added powers to have firing choice, I guess, over other government agencies that hadn't previously been determined. So, he can't fire the one that he wanted. They're like, nah, you can't fire her, Lisa Cook from the Board of Governors at the Fed. But he was given like something. Like, here you go. You can have this, though. Now you can fire the assistant dog catcher. You can do that if you want. Okay, so that was yesterday. They also yesterday they upheld, this is a pretty big one. They upheld the post-election grace period. This denied Trump's executive order banning mail-in votes that arrived after Election Day, which has kind of always been the flaw with mail-in voting, that our mail system is not the most timely. So you must allow for citizens who legally cast votes in a legally ordained way through the mail. You must allow their votes to be counted. You can't put a timing mechanism on it simply because the federal government failed to deliver it in time. I mean, Supreme Court said, by the way, 6-3 too on that one. 6-3 is very interesting. So there you have it. You had the Fed. They said you can't fire Lisa Cook from the Fed. They uphold the grace period, saying that there needs to be a grace period for these mail-in votes to be counted. And they also, yesterday, the E. Jean Carroll stuff, they denied Trump's attempt to appeal a lower court's ruling that said he had to pay writer E. Jean Carroll $5 million for a sexual harassment situation from the 90s. So Trump's lawyers wanted that case to make it to the Supreme Court, and they wanted the Supreme Court to say, yeah, get rid of it, which would void the $5 million judgment. That didn't happen. Supreme Court said, we're not getting involved in this. We think what the lower courts did is fine. This does not need our imprint. So moving on. So that was yesterday. Today, we were awaiting word on a couple of big things. Most importantly, I think, the one that I think is the most important is the birthright citizenship situation. It says here, the core of the debate concerning birthright citizenship. That's where, okay, it's part of the 14th Amendment, and it's the Citizens Clause in the 14th Amendment. And what it says is that a child born in the United States, subject to the laws and jurisdiction of the United States, is born a citizen just for being here. Now, I think this was originally put in there in 1860. Now, you have to think about what was happening in this country in 1860 and why they had that attitude. We were still a relatively new country with a lot of room to grow. We were inviting people from all over the place to come here to America, to become American citizens, to build this country. This country, without question, was built by immigrants, invited and encouraged to come here. So that's what this clause in the 14th Amendment is all about, welcoming people to come to this country and settle it. Well, here we are, like 100 and... Oh, God, I got to do the math. All right, so we're 66. We're 166 years later. And this country is no longer in that mindset. Not speaking for me. I'm speaking for what I perceive the country's mindset to be. They don't think we still need to welcome the huddled masses and, all of that. They don't believe in the message of the Statue of Liberty. And the argument is because times have changed. And that may be true. The Supreme Court seems to disagree because Trump signed an executive order stating that you are no longer an American citizen simply for being born here. That's the case that the Supreme Court took, and that's what they 6-3. That's what they came down, saying that Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship violates the human clause in the human citizen clause in the 14th Amendment. Here's what they wrote. The core of the debate has always been what, quote, subject to the jurisdiction means. Okay, so that's the language in the 14th Amendment that has been debated here. Subject to the jurisdiction. The Supreme Court reaffirmed today that jurisdiction means being bound by the laws of the country you are in. Because, and here's their explanation, because undocumented immigrants and their children must follow U.S. civil and criminal laws and can be prosecuted in U.S. courts and must pay taxes, they are, quote, fully subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So what they're saying is, if parents are in this country illegally, okay, they've come in illegally. Now, a lot of people will stop, well, they're criminals. I do not classify somebody in this country as being the same kind of criminal as I think you're suggesting. Yes, they have broken a law, but I've spit on sidewalks in cities where that's illegal. So I'm a criminal too. A criminal to me is somebody who causes mayhem in their community, is somebody who violates not only the rules and the laws of society, but basically just the rules of behavior that govern civilized society. Criminals are people who are here who are causing a problem. I do not feel, and this is again, where my point of this comes polarizing, I do not feel that simply being in this country illegal makes you the same kind of criminal that we need to subject to these kinds of draconian laws. Get them out of here. I think that that's just ugly. Make the border stronger. Make it harder to come in here. Whatever. Elect people that will change the laws. But the way it is now and the way I was raised in this country is that I'm immigrants. Our family. Not my generation, but I had grandparents who spoke with funny accents. All of my friends' grandparents spoke with funny accents. I just don't understand this hatred for people coming here now. I don't understand it. I don't understand this idea that they are all criminals, that they are all horrible people, and that every single one of them, just for the fact that they crossed a borderline illegal, must be treated like the worst dregs of our society. That's nonsense to me. I have worked in kitchens. I have known people who are here illegal, and I've not known any that I would think were dangerous criminals. Most of them are the Mexican dudes who work in the pizza kitchen 90 hours a week and send all their money back home to their family. I mean, I find that admirable. Now, does that mean that if 100 of these people come through, that 2 or 3 of them won't be terrible? Yeah, but 2 or 3 does not, to me, define an entire group of people. Yes, there are bad people, and we must deal with those people one-on-one, but the idea that every single one of them is bad is not only stupid, but it's anti-human. All right, let's see what else did they do today? Oh, this was an interesting one, and I think they got this one right as well. Sorry, I think they got this one right as well. The U.S. Supreme Court today upheld state laws that ban transgender women and girls from participating on female school and college sports teams. In a major 6-3 decision, the conservative majority ruled that these state restrictions do not violate the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. Furthermore, the court was unanimous in finding that such bans do not violate Title IX, the federal law that prohibits sex discrimination in education. So here's what this is about. Title IX was established a number of years ago, and it was a way to make sports opportunities a more level playing field for both genders. Title IX supports the promotion of female sports in college, in high school, at every level. It's a good thing because, as it turns out, I think we learned this in the 1980s, maybe the 70s. women like sports. Sometimes they're good at it. Like when women compete against, sometimes it's pretty compelling. I mean, whether it's Billie Jean King and Chris Evert or, Martina Navratilova and Steffi Graf. Oh, look at that. So that's what Title IX is about. Title IX is about acknowledging that women have a right to compete and participate in sports at the same level and with the same support of the community as men do. Okay, that's a very good thing. Title IX is very, very well written, and it specifically addresses male and female. Now, maybe when Title IX was first written, they weren't really thinking about the trans thing because the trans thing is a relatively new subject that we're all sort of dealing with. It's always been around, but for the last 10 years, 10, 15 years, it really kind of, you know what I'm saying. Throughout the 90s, RuPaul was a curiosity. And I've got a 30-second delay, so I am predicting. Although he's now hearing me say this, so maybe he's going to stop. Anyway, I was going to predict what Adam was going to say about that statement. But never mind. Doesn't matter. So Title IX only mentions men and women, and that's why it was unanimous, because all the judges were like, well, if you're trying to draw a correlation in how this relates to Title IX, Title IX is not even in this conversation, because Title IX very specifically says men or women. There is no wiggle room there for a third gender or a fourth gender, which is what I think the argument about trans people in states being able to play sports of the gender they're transitioning to comes from. Now, certain states, Texas among them, made laws where you cannot, if you're a boy and you're transitioning to a woman, you cannot compete in women's sports. A lot of people think that this is bad. Like a lot of people, I don't think so. Again, I'd like to think of myself as an ally. I have no issues with people who make choices that are different than mine and how they lead their lives. I think we need to be cool to everybody. But I do keep going back to the idea that there is a little girl out there who is working her ass off to compete against other like little girls who maybe will fall short of her goals now because some kid who was born a boy, who is bigger and is stronger, is now going to race against her in the state track meet finals. I find that disgusting. And I don't find it deliberately to be against the trans person. I see it as standing for the little girl. This is a whole new situation. Why are we just saying, screw that little girl? Why are we saying that? We know that it's not the same. We have seen it. We have seen the difference between a 19-year-old boy who is a boy, a 19-year-old girl who is a girl, and a 19-year-old boy who is now transitioning to a girl. They look different, and those differences correlate to athletic superiority. It's about muscle. It's about size. It's about power. So this is not in any way I don't see it as some sort of the trannies are all bad. I don't see that. I see this as just being a natural way of looking at what's fair for everybody. It is not fair. However, interestingly enough, they did say that it's not the same for the other way. It's not the same. This ruling by the Supreme Court specifically only means women's sports. It only means that if you are a young man transitioning to a woman, you cannot play women's sports. But it leaves wide open. I mean, I guess you can, if you are a girl transitioning to a boy and you want to go out for the football team, I guess that's fine. The court's ruling on the core constitutional challenge split sharply along ideological lines. Here's how they voted on this. No big shockers here. It says Justice Brett Kavanaugh, he wrote the majority decision on the trans ruling. He authored the main majority opinion, stating fuck. It did it again. It did that shit again. Great. Right in the middle of a very delicate and... fuck it. We're moving on. All right, there you have it. The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court today. Sorry about that, guys. It's this system. I swear to God, I think if I was just using YouTube, this wouldn't happen. But every day when I'm on my page where I'm looking at my notes and I'm ranting, every day I'm away from the studio page, and that's when the studio mics go out, because they just go out. All right. Oh, you know what I did want to mention here, though, because I do have more that I wanted to talk about here. Let's go back to the birthright citizenship issue that the Supreme Court ruled 6-3, saying that Trump did not have the right through executive order to just end birthright citizenship. That's what they ruled. It says here, because undocumented immigrants and their children must follow. Okay, that's why the subject to jurisdiction. Subject to jurisdiction, as written in the 14th Amendment, is the core argument here. Okay, what does subject to jurisdiction mean? So they decided that anybody that's in this country, whether they're here illegally or not, if they have to obey our rules, and if they jaywalk or speed, they will get a ticket. If they beat somebody up, they will go to jail, because they are subject to the laws of this jurisdiction. That's what it means. That's what it means. The core of the debate has always been what subject to jurisdiction means. The Supreme Court reaffirmed today that jurisdiction means being bound by the laws of the country, because undocumented immigrants and their children must follow state and civil law and can be prosecuted in courts for violating those laws. And because they pay taxes, they are in that moment fully subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and all of its protections. And the children born to them are considered American citizens. There are a couple of exceptions that I thought were interesting. Children, of course, of foreign diplomats who receive diplomatic immunity are not considered children of the United States. They're not natural born citizens. Because, why? Again, subject to jurisdiction. A child born to a diplomat is not subject to the jurisdiction, the laws of the country they're born in. They have diplomatic immunity. That's why these UN diplomats can park anywhere they want, and they can beat people up if they want, and they can't be prosecuted. So therefore, their children, because their children are not bound to the laws, just as the parents aren't, they can't be citizens. Okay, so that's one. Here's another one that I thought was interesting that they mentioned. Children born to foreign occupying armies during wartime are not allowed to claim U.S. citizenship. So imagine, if you will, imagine North Korea invades us. Imagine North Korea takes over the West Coast. I know it's kind of crazy, but imagine that happens. Imagine the West Coast falls, and now it's North Korea West. Or, yeah, it would be because they're the East. Okay, so West Coast is now North Korea. We're at war with them. We want California back, or whatever. If like a person in the North Korean army brings his wife over and they settle there in the San Fernando Valley of North Korea West, their kids, because they're an invading army, are not citizens. which I didn't really think we needed to write down. Like, that needs to be written down. Again, isn't that a goes without saying? If you've invaded this country and we get it back, we're probably going to kick you out and you're not going to stay a citizen. But anyway. Because undocumented parents, okay, these are the illegals, because undocumented parents do not have diplomatic immunity, their children do not fall under these rare exceptions. So they are citizens. A lot of people will complain about the anchor baby story that you hear. Oh, some people, they're coming, they're flying into this country just to have babies, then they're going back because their babies are. Is that a mass problem? That particular, I was listening to a podcast yesterday and somebody offered that particular scenario. And I thought to myself immediately, well, do we have a problem with so we just don't like foreigners, right? Because if these people can afford a plane ticket and a hotel room and a hospital stay to have their baby here, they don't seem like the same people you're trying to build a wall to keep out. Man, it just seems mean. And I don't know how big a problem the anchor baby situation is. I'm sure Byron, Frank, and Barney could fill me in on it, but I don't know how credible their information would be. It just doesn't seem that is a real mass problem where people are coming here to this country to have babies in America and then going back to their country because they want their baby to have dual citizenship or what? I don't know. It's all so strange. It's just prosecute criminals. Just bad people. And if you want to say that everybody who comes in this country illegally or who overstays a visa, or a student who's here and falls in love and then decides to be, living dirty, if you will, not having proper paper. If you want to just look at all of those people as criminals, and then when you do have a criminal who pops up, who's a bad, actor and an illegal, you want to make all of them the same thing? That's lazy-mindedness. There are so many bad people who are natural born Americans that, it just seems. The problem for me with the whole issue is that I think it really just boils down to people don't like foreigners, and that's bigotry. And that really pushes me. I'm like, what? I have a friend who has turned really racist. And I think it's because they're getting older, but it's like, I look at their tweets and I'm like, when did you become racist? We're all kind of changing. I don't know. I like immigrants. I live in an immigrant neighborhood. I live in a neighborhood right now that was very famous a couple of months ago because of all the ICE things that were going on. That was in the neighborhood where I'm living. My neighbors are all awesome. These neighborhoods are beautiful. Everybody cuts their lawn. Everybody paints their house. They have backyard parties. Yeah, they speak a whole bunch of different languages. I got people next to me who speak Mexican. I speak English. Next door, Polish. This whole neighborhood is like, I love it. I'm not afraid of it though. I'm not afraid of people. The guy that I buy my weed from now, he's like some Arab dude. And I tell you about Nani up at the corner store. He's like my buddy. I don't know. I don't understand why we just see people who are different than us and immediately think that they're here to hurt us. Why can't we just be cool? All right, moving on. Supreme Court. Again, do we know what's happening with the Supreme Court tomorrow? Do we have what's on the agenda for tomorrow? If there is a tomorrow, hold on. Let me quickly ask Google AI. Is the Supreme Court in session tomorrow, or have they all quit for the summer? And what issues will they be adjudicating tomorrow, if in fact there is a tomorrow? If in fact there is a tomorrow is right. The Supreme Court officially concluded its activity today. Of course. So really, when we say they work the first week in October, I'm imagining they actually do work the first week in October. And then we say that they worked the last week in June. It's really just 2 days. It's just yesterday and today. So all right. Once again, my entire life philosophy goes down to just be cool to each other and stop fucking screaming like morons. If we could just do that, I think we'd be better off. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? Okay. Let's dial it down a little bit here and get serious. Let's go to Flint, Michigan. Let's look at these people. I see this all the time, and I'm a normal person, so I don't confront them in Walmart. But, I see, and I go, ugh. Have you ever seen these porker families that they waddle around the food stores with their like 7-year-olds and their 9-year-olds, and the 7-year-old is like 150 pounds, and you're like, what the? And you look at their grocery basket and it's filled with bullshit. Or have you ever been out somewhere? I see. It's a Mexican thing. All right, I'm gonna say it. I just said I got Mexicans who live next door. It's a Mexican thing. I saw this the other day. I've got a ballpark across the street from my house, and we go and we watch Little League baseball, me and my son. And I saw this the other day, and it was a Mexican family, and I've seen this with Mexican families before. They had a baby, and they were pouring soda pop into the baby bottle, and the baby was like, blah, 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 and it was straight up Pepsi. Straight up Pepsi. Not even like Pepsi Zero or anything like that. Just a big old baby bottle filled with Pepsi, and this. Now, I say that it's a Mexican thing because is that maybe an immigrant thing? Maybe poor immigrants don't know that you shouldn't give babies Pepsi. I don't know. But these are the kinds of things that lead to, these little families you see waddling around the Walmart. And I as a heavy set guy, I'm the only fat person in my family, which I think is a result of me being an only child and being totally indulged. So yeah, Mexican parents and the people who raised me. I used to drink an 8-pack of soda a day. Remember when soda came in the bottles before the aliens introduced us to 2-liter bottle technology? Yeah, 2-liter bottle technology only came around like in the 90s or in the 80s. It wasn't well, maybe the early 80s, maybe the late 70s. Point is this, when I was really little, I used to drink 8 glass bottles of Coca-Cola a day. Didn't know any better. Big fat dummy. Look at me. All right. So parents are terrible with how they feed their kids. My son's mother, who is like a fitness freak and a nutrition freak. When my kid was little, she would only feed him sweet potatoes. I shouldn't say she would only feed. That's totally misrepresenting. But he ate a lot of sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes were a very big part of my son's diet. My son ate so many sweet potatoes as a little kid. I shit you not. And this is a real thing. His nose turned orange. Not from like rubbing a sweet, no, not like that. Just from all of the sweet potato nutrients or whatever, his nose turned orange, and it was horrifying because we didn't know if it was going to stay that way because he had this little white face and he had an orange nose, and it looked terrible. We've got pictures I could show you. But the doctor's like, no, that seems to be just a nutritional thing. What is he eating? Like sweet potatoes? He's like, that's what it is. And sure enough, his nose went back to normal. But my kid ate very healthy, and he was still a little bit of a porker. Now, maybe that's because of weekends with dad. I don't know, but he was a little bit of a porker as a little kid, and then he sort of grew into it. Now he's just big. Now he's just a big dude, but he's not fat. Although he would tell you that he is, but I don't think he is. All right, point is this. A family in Flint, Michigan have been charged with murder. A mother and a father have been charged with in the death of their 7-year-old son. Their 7-year-old son was 4'2" tall and 255 pounds. We've got a story here. This is a local story. They'll bring us up to speed on it. Where do you see these parents? Where do you see these parents? And when you see this little kid, I mean, this poor baby never had a chance. These parents, All right, here we go. This comes to us from a local Flint, Michigan news station reporting on this incident. Again, a 7-year-old who weighed 255 pounds has died of heart disease. 7 years old. His arteries clogged up and carotid in 7 years. That's usually a thing that takes 55, 60 years to happen to somebody who lives recklessly. Here's the story.
The prosecutor.
The parents of a 7-year-old.
Look at that kid. Look at this little sweetie. Look, this little guy. He had no chance. He had no chance. And where do you see his parents?
A boy who weighed more than 200 pounds.
That's dad. Look at this guy. Where do you see mom?
Murder, child abuse, and torture charges. This story began to unfold under murder,
hold on.
child abuse.
Is this a tattoo? Did mom get this tattoo thinking it'd be hot? It'll be hot. It'll be a weird, scaly tattoo over my luscious breasts. I hate these people. I hate these people for what they did to this child. And now you look at these people and you're like, my God.
And torture charge.
years as a prosecutor.
The parents of a 7-year-old boy who weighed more than 200 pounds face murder, child abuse, and torture charges. This story began to unfold on November 4th when a 911 call was made for a young boy in distress at a Flint Township home. He was rushed to a hospital, but he died. And Terry, the Genesee County prosecutor says this is just a terrible case of neglect.
Yeah, he does, Angie, and that's why his office has charged the parents with second-degree murder following the death of their 7-year-old Casper, their son. He was 50 inches tall and weighed 255 pounds when he died.
On the face of it, this is cruel and extreme suffering from this child caused by the neglect of the parents.
40-year-old Damian O'Brien and his wife.
Do you know what the kid ate? The kid existed almost exclusively on a diet of potato chips and French fries.
41-year-old Jessica O'Brien.
The parents.
40-year-old Damian O'Brien and his wife, 41-year-old Jessica O'Brien.
Jesus, that's 41 or 40?
40-year-old.
That's 40 years old? Holy shit.
Damian O'Brien and his wife, 41-year-old Jessica O'Brien, face the same charges in connection with the death of their 7-year-old son, Casper. The most serious charge, second-degree murder. Flint Township Police came to this home on Dania on November 4th, 2025, for a report of a child in distress. Casper was taken to Hurley Medical Center, where he died a short time later. Medical reports indicate he weighed 255 pounds at the time of his death.
That's obesity.
I am 6 foot tall. I do not weigh 255 pounds, and I'm a fat guy. I'm a fat guy at 6 foot tall. I weigh 239 pounds the last time I weighed myself. 239 pounds at 6 feet tall. This little baby was 4 feet 2 inches tall and 255 pounds.
And then you also have the fact that this child did not have a pediatrician, was only taken to the doctor, I believe, according to the police reports, once.
The cause of death was dilated cardiomyopathy, which causes heart failure, with a contributing cause being morbid obesity. The CDC lists a healthy weight for a 7-year-old boy that is 50.5 inches tall, generally ranges between.
He was 200 pounds overweight. At 7 years old, he was 200 pounds overweight. Poor little Casper.
50 and 73 pounds.
The dad has a good job. They have real health insurance. That morning that the child died, they had even called their veterinarian to have their dog treated.
The O'Briens also have a 5-year-old daughter.
None of these kids even existed in the eyes of the government. CPS had never been out there. Nobody knew about these kids. They'd not been to school.
Genesee County Prosecutor David Layton says on the day police were at the home in November, the owner of the house stopped by, concerned, believing the house was falling into disrepair and the couple wasn't letting him in the house, instead leaving the rent on the porch.
I can't think of what else this is other than extraordinary, terrible neglect. And to me, that's willful and wanton misconduct, which is second-degree murder.
And police described the living conditions in the home as a hoarding situation. Now, I could not reach the O'Brien's attorney for comment. They are being held at the Genesee County Jail on no bond.
All right, so here, let me go back to this again.
The parents of a 7-year-old boy who weighed more than 200 pounds face murder.
All right, let's leave Dad up there. We'll just let you see what's going on here with Dad. I want to address some of the things you're saying here in the chat room about this. Let's see here. First, Tom, my buddy Tom, he wants to point out that back in the day, because Tom's like me. Tom and I grew up together. He probably would polish off 8 glass bottles of Coca-Cola every day as well. He's saying they were only 16 ounces each, so 4 of them is a super big gulp. I never really looked at it that way, but I guess you might be right. I would also say that if I was out during the time when I was drinking 8 bottles of Coca-Cola a day, if I was out, I probably also had a super big gulp in my hand. So I'm not saying that the 8 bottles was all I was drinking, but it was the staple. And I know this because it was a big problem in our house. It was a huge problem. Whenever my mom would want a Coke, she would be so mad. She used to have to... I was such a little porker. My mom used to have to go shopping for the house, and then she would go shopping for her, and then she would have to hide her snacks because I was such a little porker. All right. Adam wants to know, is this story going to make me cry? Well, if you're a good person, maybe. It bummed me out. Seeing that picture of Lil Casper, oh my God. He says also, Adam, he says, I worry about my kids because they only eat carbs. So frustrating. Well, you know, yeah, that's bad. I mean, that's basically what Casper ate. Casper only ate French fries and potato chips, and now he's dead. But your kids, they're starting to be free range, right? Adam, he's got daughters who are, I mean, he's going to concerts with them. So they're not little kids. I think it's important for parents to establish good eating habits with their kids. Now, this is something that we've probably never until the last 20 years even thought all that much about. I guess maybe the millennials and the helicopter parent phenomena of the 1990s did a little bit of this as well. But when I was growing up, when I was a kid, there was absolutely no consideration. And this isn't a failure of my parents or my family. This was pretty much in general. There was no knowledge or understanding of nutrition and how bad nutrition over the course of a lifetime could compound itself in all kinds of things. Heart disease, heart attacks, strokes, whatever. So I ate garbage my entire life. Now, my son, who was born in 2009, didn't have that experience. When my son was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, when he was thirsty, he drank water. There was no Kool-Aid in the house. There was no soda pop in the house. If my son got a soda pop, it was because it was a special occasion. And, you know, I kind of at the time, because my wife and I were divorced at the time, I was kind of like, well, that's a little bit nuts, right? I mean, I came from a different era. She's very healthy. I'm not really, but damn it, she was right. My kid now at almost 18 years old has incredibly healthy eating habits. Now, that's not to say that he's not a boy and he won't lay around on a couch playing video games, eating Slim Jims and drinking a Mountain Dew. He'll do that from time to time. But when it comes to his like core meals, my kid's real healthy. Vegetables and salads and stuff like that. He's real healthy. Lean meats. He doesn't like any kind of, you know, like I was raised in the 1970s when we had a lot of, casseroles and stuff, you know, things that mom could throw together and pop in the oven and then you'd eat them and it was covered in cheese and there was butter and all of this stuff. My kid hates that shit. My kid is like, that's gross. Can I just get a piece of meat with a vegetable? And I'm like I want to be angry at him because casseroles are good and I make good casseroles, but I'm also proud of him. I'm also proud that that cycle has been broken, right? The problem that he does have, the problem that my kid does have is, and I've talked about this a lot, a really troubling addiction to his phone. It's really troubling. And also energy drinks. My kid drinks too many energy drinks. First of all, he likes Red Bull. That's all I want is Red Bull. I'm like, yeah, well, Red Bull is like $6 a bottle. Because you got to get the big ones, you know, like the big ones. I'm like, you Rockstar, it's like 2 for $3. You can't do Rockstar. You got to do. So I'll bring home like 2 of these big Red Bulls, right? I'll go to the store. I'll pick them up some because he needs to have something to drink at night. So I'll go to the store and I'll bring him home 2 of these Red Bulls. Let's say I give them to him at 7:00 at night. By 9:30, they're both gone. They're both gone. Like, you didn't put one in the fridge and save it for tomorrow. You just like. But other than that, he's pretty healthy. All right. Maddie says regarding the story of these parents in Flint, Michigan, whose son died of heart failure caused by heart disease at 7 years old, 255 pounds at 7. Maddie says, okay, but is this mental illness though? I hate to make assumptions about the parents based on looks, but is this mental illness or a lack of education? Look at these people. Thank you. Don't you feel bad about that? We're allowed to look at our fellow peasant because we are peasants and these are peasants. We are peasants. We are the peasant class. We're allowed to look at our fellow peasants and say, be better. Aspire for more. But I immediately went to the fact that these are crazy people, that these are people who don't have any kind of mental fitness to speak of. These are obviously people who do not give a shit about anything. Sloppy. Look at I mean, look, I let my beard and sometimes my stubble on my head grow a little bit too much over the course of a few days, but I never walk around looking like a homeless man. This guy, look at his beard. Look at his chin beard. He doesn't have any desire to be hygienic in any way. And the woman, here, look at the mother. We'll go to the mother now.
Child abuse.
Look at this is just the big stupid chest tattoo that she's got, which is, just an indication that this isn't the first time she's made a bad decision in her life. These people are mentally unstable. There is something wrong with these people. The story also goes on to talk about how they're hoarders. When police went into the house, they found garbage stacked upon garbage. This is a mental illness. And so, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. These people, but, I mean, that I believe that we are all in need of a mental tune-up. I believe that every single person, other than the people who are actively working on their mental state and actively, participating in their own growth, those people are kind of on board. The rest of us, we're all, my boss is an asshole. He'll fly off the handle. He'll rate. That's a mental illness. I know we don't see it that way, but behavior and the way you behave is all directly linked to your mental stability. And until we as a country start understanding that we are a whole bunch of fucking crazy people, or at the very least that we can all continuously throughout our life attempt to grow and become mentally more fit, that will never change. We're going to have people raging in traffic. That is a mental snap. Normal people can control their emotions and behave accordingly in mixed society. People who are mentally weak, who probably are in need of some kind of a tune-up, are the ones who do these embarrassing things. And social media has exposed so many of us. Half the people with 500,000 followers in these viral videos where they're just causing trouble, these people are not mentally fit. And these people are not mentally fit. We all could use a tune-up, unless, of course, you're already aware of that and you're working on it. We have ignored, as a species, the mental aspect of our existence for millennia. We don't know anything about it. Like I always say, we can transplant a heart, we can set a bone, we can stitch a wound, but we don't know the first fucking thing about what makes us tick. We're only just now starting to delve into that aspect of humanity. Freud was 100 years. That's it. Like 100 years ago, like the first guy to actually start looking at this stuff seriously. Before that, all we had were philosophers who were like, well, here's what I think. Nobody was actually asking, well, why do you think that? Where is this coming from? What is your thought process here? So yeah, these people are crazy. Let's see. What else do we have? Anybody else have a comment? Yeah. Yeah, right? Adam, that dude is 40 years old. 40 years old. That is a hard 40. And it's a hard 40 for her as well. Maddie says, this is obviously endangerment. I'm not diminishing that. But what this says to me personally is how diabolical the lack of education in mental health care in this country is. Yeah, that is an absolute truth, man. That is an absolute truth. Adam is now checking in with his Playboy Centerfold statistics. He says that he is 230 pounds and 5'10", but he's also in shape. His turn-ons are long walks in the park. His turn-offs are judgy people. Thank you, Adam. Adam says they only drink water in their house too. Says, yeah, we only drink water in this household. Glad they do that. That's a new thing. But they get you. They always get you somehow, because my kid only drinks water. Like water's you thirsty, right? He's thirsty. I'm like, want a beer? He wants water. He wants ice cold water. But here's where they get you. My generation is drinking water. Would you think it'd be great? It's like, I'm going to save on Kool-Aid. I'm going to save on Lipton iced tea. Going to save on soda pop. The problem is that my kid will only drink store-bought bottled water, which just defeats the whole purpose. We've got a tap. We've got, there's like 4 rooms in this house with an actual tap where that shit comes out for free. I know it's technically not free, but you know what I mean? Do you know how much like a case of Ozarka is? We've got a tap, man. We've got a freaking tap. So what I started doing with my kid was I would collect empty bottles. I would collect empty bottles of water and I'd just fill them with tap water, screw the thing on really tight, and then put it there in the refrigerator. And, the hope was that I would fool him. It didn't work. He's like, these are not fresh bottles. This did not break the seal when I opened it. You're trying to fool me, Dad. Yeah. All right. What's this? What's Betty doing? Go ahead. Say it. Here comes the lefty blaming the system, but it's 100% true. You had self-guilt. Nobody was blaming you. I was agreeing with you. You're fine. You're right. I don't think that's a left issue. I don't think recognizing that we have been derelict in our duties to our national mental fitness, I don't think that's a lefty position. I think that's an observation that most people would go, yeah, we do have a lot of crazy people out there. Why is that? And is there a way that we can get less crazy people? Let's work on that. All right. Very sad story out of Flint, Michigan. Let's go to another sad story, or is it? Because my team plays in the NFC North. I don't know how sad I feel about this, but Terrion Arnold. Are you guys familiar with the Terrion Arnold story? Terrion Arnold, of course, a very good cornerback for the very good Detroit Lions. He was a first-round draft pick just a year ago, right? He was 2024 first-round draft pick cornerback out of Alabama. Well, he might be done. So a lot of times when these sports players get in trouble, you're like, it'll be fine. I'm sure the team will be suspended a couple of games. No, this is one of them deals where it's like, I don't think he's just going to be suspended a couple of games for this. This seems serious. So what did Terrion Arnold do? Well, he's been released by the Detroit Lions. That ought to tell you that what he did, at least they believed, was pretty serious. So here's what happened. So Terrion Arnold, cornerback for the Detroit Lions, rented a home, a very nice home, Airbnb did a home, I think outside Tampa. And he and his boys, as young, moneyed athletes are wont to do, went down there to party. And they're partying in this house. And apparently, while they were partying in this Airbnb, a significant amount of money and objects were stolen from Terrion Arnold's possession. $250,000 in cash and some other things is what is claimed to have been stolen. So now this happened, I guess, over Christmas, I think, because the original news report on this story came out in February. And the initial news report was out of Tampa, and it said that a couple of men had been arrested for kidnapping and assault charges in connection with a property being rented by Detroit Lions Terrion Arnold. Okay, that was in February. There was no direct connection other than, yes, there's a situation that happened at this place. We've arrested these two people for kidnapping and assault charges. And, oh, yeah, all of this happened around a property that was being rented by Terrion Arnold. So that was it in February. That was the big thing. Well, as it turns out, this was far more complicated than that. Here's the deal. Terrion Arnold and his crew, they found out, or at least they believed they found out, who the culprits behind the theft at the Airbnb they were staying in were. So Terrion Arnold, apparently he wasn't there, boots on the ground, but his boys were. So he mustered his boys to go out and round up these suspected thieves. These thieves were then lured to an apartment where they were beaten and tortured by Terrion Arnold's friends. Because again, they believed that these were the people responsible for the theft. This is very similar to the O.J. Simpson situation. Do you remember O.J.? Not the murder of Nicole and Ron. The O.J. Simpson deal, he didn't go to jail for that. But O.J. Simpson did spend time in jail. Why? Because of a kidnapping and assault charge that he was found guilty of. Remember years after the adjudicatment of him, he didn't do it when he was, he didn't do it, right? So he's a free man. But OJ kind of became a guy who leveraged his fame as a football player on the card show circuit and in the memorabilia world. So he had a lot of memorabilia, and apparently OJ felt somebody had stolen a bunch of his memorabilia. OJ had given this man a whole bunch of his memorabilia in the belief that this man was then going to flip it for him. Right? This guy was going to sell it because OJ doesn't know how to sell that shit. So this guy was going to sell OJ's memorabilia and give him the money back. Well, the guy didn't sell OJ's memorabilia, and OJ wanted it back, and apparently the guy wasn't giving it back. So OJ went to his hotel room in Las Vegas with a bunch of buddies and basically, demanded that he get his property back. OJ, because he's a big dummy, totally felt that he was in the right because this is mine, and I can go and I can brutalize this human because it's mine. Laws don't matter. It's the old West, right? That's the kind of moronic attitude that I guess OJ had. Well, OJ got convicted of the kidnapping and he went to jail for it. This is the same kind of thing that is happening with Detroit Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold is believed to be the instigator of this kidnapping and this a beatdown that occurred with these people, again, who were believed to have been behind the robbery at Terrion Arnold's Airbnb. Now, how do we know he was involved? Because he was on FaceTime while they were being tortured. Apparently, Terrion Arnold couldn't be there, but he was there in spirit and digitally. He was there on FaceTime. And apparently, they can prove it because they can prove these things. All right, let me give you what we have here so far on this story. Terrion Arnold has been, the Detroit Lions have now, yesterday, released cornerback Terrion Arnold. And again, it's a big deal. He's a first-round draft pick from 1 year ago. Former first-rounder Terrion Arnold had a whirlwind day on Monday. He began the day by being released on a $1 million bond by a Hillsborough County, Florida judge, and even received permission to practice and play with the Lions while he awaited trial on multiple felony charges. So this stems from Thursday. On Wednesday night, the story kind of hit the presses and Schefter was reporting it. Terrion Arnold turned himself in on Thursday. He was booked and he was in prison down there in Florida Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is when he was finally able to bail himself out. Former first-rounder Terrion Arnold had a whirlwind day on Monday. He began the day by being released on a $1 million bond by a Hillsborough County, Florida judge, and even received permission to practice and play with the Lions while he awaited trial on multiple felony charges of robbery and kidnapping. The day, however, ended with Arnold learning that he wouldn't need clearance to practice because he is no longer employed by the Detroit Lions, which announced on Monday in a one-sentence tweet that it had released him. Detroit Lions just put out a tweet that said, Lions announced today that they have released cornerback Terrion Arnold. Arnold had been in custody in Hillsborough County, Florida, since turning himself in on Wednesday evening. Arnold is accused of orchestrating the abduction and beating of 3 men who authorities believe he wrongly suspected of having stolen luxury items and cash. That's the other thing. Yeah, they were wrong. Turns out they were totally wrong. These dudes that Terrion Arnold had kidnapped and beaten were not the people who stole from him. I don't know how the police know that. Maybe Terrion Arnold found that out. When Arnold signed with the Lions after being selected in the first round of the 2024 draft, his rookie deal was for 4 years and $14.3 million. That was fully guaranteed. At the time of his release, Arnold had 2 years remaining, roughly $8.5 million remaining on his deal. All right, so what did he have? So 14.3, 8.5, that's 9, 4, 5, I don't know, like 5 million. He's got like 5 million liquid. I would think, no, it's not liquid. He's got a bunch of stupid cars. He's got boats. He's not liquid. This dude doesn't have. Dude will be broke in 5 years. It says here, Detroit could and probably will exercise its option to void the remaining guarantees in his contract due to his conduct. The next question is, from a purely football standpoint, does this mean What does this mean for their cap? Well, I don't care. I'm reading this off a Lions blog. I am not at all concerned about how this affects the Detroit Lions cap. Terrion Arnold has been released by the Detroit Lions after wrongly kidnapping and apparently orchestrating the beatdown of some people he suspected of stealing from him. Very O.J. Simpson, and if we look to that as any kind of guide as to what's to come, Terrion Arnold's going to go to prison. He's going to do some jail time, which is good for us. Good for us. Now they're down a cornerback. They're in Detroit. Caleb Williams and our weapons, you're gonna need the best cornerbacks you can get. And you now are down one, a very good one too. All right, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills because I think this is interesting. The Buffalo Bills have their new stadium that's $2.3 billion stadium there in Buffalo. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Is it nice? I don't know. I'm just look. Here's the thing with new stadiums. Every new stadium is amazing. It's the greatest thing. Cut to 5 years later. We made so many mistakes with this place. Seriously, that's every stadium that's ever been built. The AT&T Stadium was a marvel when it was opened. It's the greatest. It's the high watermark achievement in stadium building in America. All of that stuff. Now people hate that place. They're like, the sun comes in. Why did they build it this way? What? I still think it's pretty great, but you get my point. People love things when they're new, and then we kind of, we decide that we want something better because somebody else builds something new. Like I'll tell you, we here in the NFC North, we look at that stadium there in Minnesota. Oh, that's the shit. That stadium, that brand new stadium where the Minnesota Vikings play, that's the shit. That stadium looks amazing. Anyway. Let's move on to the Buffalo Bills, who, as I said, just opened their brand new stadium. It's going to be ready for this season of football, but I guess it's opened last week with a concert, and you know how they do with these big municipal stadiums. Anyway, upon moving from the old stadium over to the new stadium, there were some decisions made, decisions that I find interesting. I don't have a problem with them per se, but I do want to call them out. One of those decisions was the Buffalo Bills Hall of Fame. So there was a section of the old Buffalo Bills Stadium where all of their greats were honored. I don't know. I mean, the only Buffalo Bill greats. I mean, Jim Kelly, like who are Buffalo Bill greats? Jim Kelly. Who was their defensive guy? They had a linebacker, defensive guy. Can't think of his name. He was good, but I can't even remember his name. They had a good running back with Jim Kelly. I can't remember his name. Thurman Thomas. Is that a name? Is that a guy? I think it is. How soon we forget, right? Household name back in 1992. And OJ. That's it. For me, like the Buffalo Bills would just say, who are the greatest Buffalo Bills of all time? I go, I don't know. Bruce Smith. I go, Josh Allen, Bruce Smith, Jim Kelly, and OJ, right? OJ's the original? Yeah, not anymore. The Buffalo Bills have decided that at the new stadium, they will no longer be honoring the greatest single player in the history of their franchise, OJ Simpson. Why? Because he did some things. So we're forgetting that he ever existed. And I understand why you do this. You know, it's a bad look. And you like to put your best foot forward. And you don't want to be reminded that somebody that you people in Buffalo openly worshipped for 30 years after his retirement turns out to be a real piece of human garbage. I get it. It's a bit uncomfortable, but it happened. And I do not think that we should, as a country or as a culture, get into the habit of erasing history just because we don't like the way it feels. And that's what's happening with O.J. Simpson there in Buffalo. They're going to pretend like he never existed. I was watching The Sopranos the other day, and there was a funny line. I don't even remember the context of the line, but the line was Paulie Walnuts said to Tony, in regard to Vito. Remember Vito? Vito was a good earner for the Soprano family. Vito was a really good earner. He was like their best earner. The Soprano family crew hadn't seen an earner like Vito since Ralphie Cifaretti went away. Anyway, Vito was a great earner. He was also gay. And Paulie said to Tony, when Tony was lamenting the loss of Vito's revenue stream because he was found out to be gay and they couldn't handle that, Paulie said to Tony, well, it's not like the murder of his wife made O.J. Simpson any less a running back. And he's right. He's right. O.J. Simpson was a great running back. You watch O.J. Simpson highlights, separate the art from the artist. I mean, I can watch O.J. Simpson highlights and go, holy shit, that guy was good. Right? I don't alter the reality because of what he did afterwards. I don't suddenly go, oh, fuck him. Let's pretend he never existed. No, he was good. He was good and he was complicated. And there were a lot of different sides to OJ. Let's talk about all of them. Buffalo Bills don't want to do that. Buffalo Bills want to just pretend like OJ never existed. This is Stalinist. This is something that they did in the transitional era of Soviet Russia. And transitional, I mean, after Lenin, when Stalin was first taking full power. I mean, this is like, well, it was called being a non-person. I don't know if you've ever heard that expression, but Stalin had a policy of erasing people from Russian history, calling them or categorizing them as non-persons. Whatever their achievements or their contributions to Soviet or Russian history, whatever they were, Stalin decided that because of other things they may have done, they never existed and they were erased from the history books. For 80 years of communism, there were people who were just gone. If you were educated in Soviet Russia, you didn't learn anything about these people because they were non-persons, because their activity or their whatever, their reputation no longer jived with what the Soviet wanted people to believe. So non-persons, it was a big problem. They rewrote all of their history and eliminated things. It'd be like if in America we decided in like 1990 that we were just going to remove any mentions of slavery from our history books. Now, I know there's people on the right that wouldn't be against that. Be like, we should do that. No, you can't do that. Your history is your history, whether it's good or bad. You might want to walk around in the present pretending like you're righteous and everything that you've ever done is for the good of all, but that's bullshit. Take a step out, go 20 years in the future and look back at this time. You're going to want to know the real history, and that's why I think this is dangerous. So I thought to myself, have there been any other teams, any other sports teams in the four major American sports who have had really identifiable superstars wear their colors, who they now completely ignore, who they pretend was never a part of the thing? I didn't think that there would be many. Turns out there's quite a few. There's here, let me pull you. I got a list here of players who have been completely shunned by the teams that they played for and excelled at. Okay. Well, first and foremost, how about this one? This was the most obvious one. I totally forgot about this. You will not find anywhere in the history of the New England Patriots anything written about Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez has been almost completely erased from the official history of the New England Patriots. I mean, again, another situation like O.J. Simpson. I honestly believe, though, did you guys familiar with the Aaron Hernandez story? I mean, I know we all have little bits and pieces, but I mean, I read a book on that, and then I watched the documentary, and then I watched the miniseries, the real cheesy miniseries, American Sports Story or whatever, the Aaron Hernandez thing. Aaron Hernandez was far worse a person than O.J. Simpson. Far worse. Aaron Hernandez was just a bad human being. O.J. Simpson was a douchebag who lost his shit, a crime of passion. He was in love. It was about a wife. It was not love. You didn't love her. Yes, he did. He loved her and he wanted to control her. He loved her too much. That's why O.J. lost his shit in murder. I don't believe that O.J. Simpson was any threat to the greater community. I do not believe that O.J. Simpson was next going to start walking down the street with a sword, killing people at random. Aaron Hernandez, I can't say that for. Aaron Hernandez killed people when they got in his way, whether it was somebody who spilled a drink on him in a club or some guy who sold him bad drugs in Florida. These are all things that Aaron Hernandez did. Aaron Hernandez is an evil, evil person, and his body of work speaks for itself. Also crazy. Aaron Hernandez was crazy. I believe he was schizophrenic. Just me. And gay. Yes, Aaron Hernandez was gay. And they say that a lot of Aaron Hernandez's issues, his super alpha, don't ever let anybody push him around, came from his dad, who was super homophobic, who, like, you know, his dad raised him like, don't be a fag, you know, that whole thing. So Aaron Hernandez was not only in the closet, but he was trying to be so masculine and so hyper, you know, manly that, you know, turned out that he had to murder people. All right, so Aaron Hernandez, the New England Patriots have completely forgotten. Here's another one that I thought was interesting. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Didn't even know this one. John Gruden, who coached, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, won a Super Bowl with them, has been removed from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Ring of Honor. John Gruden. The Buccaneers have completely removed their former Super Bowl winning head coach from the Raymond James Stadium Ring of Honor. This decision followed the leak of numerous emails containing racist, misogynistic, and homophobic language. Had no idea. That's a big one, right? Aaron Hernandez is a big one for the Patriots because he participated in Super Bowls and he's a part of championship teams. John Gruden won a Super Bowl for Tampa. What do they got? 2? He won one of them. And he is completely now a non-person because he sent an email where he made fun of the size of a black man's lips. We must tell future generations that he never coached a Super Bowl team. Why? Like, why can't you just go, yeah, he was a good coach, but also turns out to be a pretty big piece of shit? I don't see why you can't do that. Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens, he's also been sort of non-personed by the Ravens, but Ray Rice wasn't that big of a star. Ray Rice was pretty good on a good team at the time that he punched his wife in an elevator. Remember that video? Wife or girlfriend or something, fiance maybe. So, you know, it's not like Ray Rice was at the caliber of O.J. Simpson or Ray Rice had been winning Super Bowls like Aaron Hernandez. No, a little bit different. But anyway, Ray Rice is another example. So those are 3 from football. O.J. Simpson is being removed from the history of the Buffalo Bills as they move into their new stadium. I told you about Aaron Hernandez. He's been removed from the history of the New England Patriots. John Gruden's name has been stripped from the stadium there, Raymond James Stadium's Ring of Honor, and Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens, it says here. After a video surfaced in 2014 showing Rice assaulting his then fiancée in an elevator, the Baltimore Ravens terminated his contract. The franchise has also removed him from their stadium displays and offered a jersey exchange program. Well, okay, that's not, again, Ray Rice was never going to be on the Ravens Wall of Fame, so it's a little bit different. How about some other sports? How about some other sports teams who have had to distance themselves from superstars? I'll give you 2, and these are 2 pretty big ones. Roberto Alomar is a non-person with the Toronto Blue Jays. When I think of the Toronto Blue Jays, I think of Gary Carter. I think of Joe Carter. No, not Gary Carter. Gary Carter's an Expo. I think of Joe Carter. I think of Joe Carter, and I think of Robbie Alomar. That's who I think of when I think of the Toronto Blue Jays. Robbie Alomar is no longer ever mentioned, at least not officially, with the Toronto Blue Jays. Following an independent investigation back in 2021 into allegations of sexual misconduct, Major League Baseball placed Alomar on its ineligible list. The Toronto Blue Jays immediately followed suit by severing all ties, removing his name from the level of excellence at the Rogers Center, and taking down banners that celebrated his Hall of Fame induction and career with the Blue Jays. Roberto Alomar does not exist anymore in Toronto. So if you grew up watching him, screw you. Your memories are a lie. You know how dangerous this is, right? If we don't have these examples of, no, we represent excellence. Everything about us is excellence. We can't have, This is how we get into trouble. All right, and here's another one that I found here. Here's a big one, and it's a big one locally here, and I didn't even know this had happened. Bobby Hull. That's right, Chicago Blackhawks NHL Hall of Famer, one of the greats, Bobby Hull, father of Brett Hull. Brett Hull, who for my Dallas friends might remember his career. Bobby Hull, despite being one of the greatest players in NHL history, Hull faced massive public blowback for severe domestic abuse allegations from 2 ex-wives and making widely publicized sympathetic remarks about Hitler. What did Bobby Hull say about Hitler? All right, I got to know what Bobby Hull said about Hitler. This is important. He was probably drunk. What did Bobby Hull say about Hitler that got him in trouble? All right. In an August 98 interview with the English language paper, the Moscow Times, oh, geez, he's talking to like a Russian paper. Hockey Hall of Famer Bobby Hull was quoted as saying, Hitler had some good ideas. He just went a little bit too far. This is the hard one. You got to tread lightly here because I got to be honest. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. Not to the extent that the guy's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the foundational players, certainly in the Blackhawks history. That's not that bad. Do we exist in the world where Hitler never had an idea that wasn't terrible? I mean, I know that makes it easier for us. But what, Hitler was never with a group of friends and they went, where do you want to go to dinner? And Hitler was like, we should go to this place. And everybody was like, that's a great idea. So Hitler, I mean, he had some, can we establish? I think, again, that goes without saying, I think Hitler had some really bad ideas. He did some really terrible things. He is a historic monster, but even his dog liked him, right? Hitler probably had a dog that liked him. He is not, Bobby Hull, saying that he's a Nazi or that he agrees with Hitler. He said Hitler had some good ideas. He just went a little bit too far. Now, the only problem that I have with this is his choice of words here. A little bit. A little bit too far. Hitler went a little bit too far. He didn't need to say a little bit. He could have said, Hitler had some pretty good ideas about, building sanitation and, transportation. He really built up the military and had some good ideas about, all of that stuff. But he went way too far. Way too far would have been better than a little bit too far. Anyway, that's a dumb thing that an old guy says, and he was probably drunk because Bobby Hull is an alcoholic. I don't even know that to be true. But here's what I do know to be true. Every hockey player is an alcoholic. Every hockey player. I've hung out with a lot of professional hockey players. Hockey players are all alcoholics. All right, there you have it. So Buffalo is going to pretend that O.J. Simpson was never a part of their team, but they won't be the first, as we just covered there. Buccaneers with Gruden. That's the one that kind of surprised me. Like I get Aaron Hernandez and I get the Ray Rice thing, but John Gruden, I didn't even know that was, you're going to pretend he wasn't the coach? He was the coach of a Super Bowl team. And didn't he win a Super Bowl with he didn't win the Super Bowl with, Tom Brady the way Bruce Arians did. He won a Super Bowl with some scrub. All right. Anyway, we're going to pretend that never happened. All right, there you have it. That's the Buffalo Bills in their new stadium and the decision that they have made concerning O.J. Simpson. Let's move on to another football story. I'm not doing a football show here. It just so happens that the football stories were coming fast and furious this morning. This one comes from last night. Diana Russini. Yeah, this story ain't going away. Are you kidding me? You think this story is going away? You realize that the New England Patriots and Mike Vrabel are playing in the opening game of the NFL season? Deliberately. The Patriots were scheduled to play in Seattle after the whole Vrabel and Russini thing, which is a reason that most people went, yeah, the NFL isn't going to want an entire week build up to their opening night to be about one of the coaches who is coaching in this game. That's just going to be a bad look for the game. That's what normal people thought. Well, it turned out that the NFL, they were like, no, actually, that's actually pretty good. We're going to put Mike Vrabel in the first game because we're the NFL, and we're not ashamed of that story because all clicks are good clicks. And if people are talking, they did it deliberately. The NFL is deliberately putting Mike Vrabel in the opening game. Now, a bunch of wise minds before they made that decision said that the NFL would never schedule the Patriots for that game because no one in their right mind would want that kind of narrative in the week leading up to the game. Well, those people were wrong because the NFL is like, no, we want that. We want any kind of narrative. We don't care if it's good or bad. And they're probably right because I'll certainly be tuning in. But what it ensures is that the Diana Russini, Mike Vrabel story doesn't go away. It's going to come back. I mean, it's always been around to some extent. There's little bubbles that pop up with something new, but it hasn't been like a big front page story. It will be again. The week before the New England Patriots fly to Seattle and play the Seattle Seahawks to open the 2026 NFL season, they're going to rehash this whole thing again. So all the pearl clutching on the part of the NFL about how this is bad, this looks bad, it's all bullshit. They love it. It's heat. It's a soap opera. It's gossipy. This is the kind of story that brings people in who don't typically follow football because it surrounds marital infidelity and all kinds of non-football related things. To bring you up to speed, here's the story. If you're unfamiliar, Mike Vrabel, head coach of the New England Patriots, has been having a decade-long married coach, happily married coach, good family man. Mike Vrabel, he loves his daughters. Look at his daughters. He loves his daughters. He loves his wife. He's been married to the same woman for 22 years. He's been having an affair, a physical, sexual affair with reporter Diana Russini going all the way back to 2020 during the pandemic. Now, it was uncovered by some New York Post reporters a couple of months back. Diana Russini and Mike Vrabel were photographed together at a couples-only resort in Arizona. When the pictures came out, they both denied it. They were both like, no, it was just happenstance. I was there with my boys, and she was there with girls, and we knew each other because we're both in the football world. It was a total lie. That was a complete lie, and all you need to do is lie like that to a whole bunch of people with cameras and reporters, notebooks, and they're going to go and they're going to find out that you're lying. And of course, we learn now we've got whole bunches of pictures of them throughout the years together, pictures of them, as I said, dating all the way back. They were in a bar in Manhattan during the pandemic, rubbing all up on each other. So this isn't a recent thing. They didn't just start up this romance back in February when they were photographed there at the resort in New Mexico. No, they've been secretly together for years. Both of them are married. There were even photos that were released of a pregnant Diana Russini, pregnant with her husband's baby, a pregnant Diana Russini seeming to be out on a boat day with Mike Vrabel. Remember this picture? She's like waddling down the pier to the boat, and Mike's like, here, let me grab that for you. It was a telephoto lens from a reporter who was somewhere far away who got pictures of these two going out on a boat day, and she was super pregnant with her husband's baby. A baby that was born, and she named Mike. She named her baby Michael, the same name as the man she's having an illicit affair with. How weird is that? Anyway. It is interesting to me though. Like if a bunch of feminists want to get all upset, I'll come over to your side. I'll be like, yeah, that's some bullshit. Diana Russini is the only person in this coupling who has been penalized at all. Diana Russini has lost her career. She's a whore. She's cheating on her husband and this baby. Who does this baby belong to? Is this Vrabel's baby? She should never be trusted with, NFL journalism again. That happened to her. Mike Vrabel's coaching on opening game. Mike Vrabel, nothing. We got to leave Coach alone. Coach has a big season in front of him. Let's not distract him with this stuff. But let's get that fucking bitch. Let's get her. Yeah, the whore. I mean, it is a little, it's like, why isn't this guy in any trouble? And yet it's a feeding frenzy on Diana Russini. I don't know. Well, here might be part of it because Diana Russini, now we're starting to learn she's a real piece of work. This woman is like, she's a weirdo. She really is a weirdo. The questions originally were, her having a relationship with a coach. How does this journalistic integrity? You're not supposed to sleep with sources. And that's what head coaches are. They're not her friends. They're not her lovers. They are sources of information for her to do her job. She is supposed to have an equal relation with coaches, so she can call this coach, she get some information, and then she can call the coach of the team they're playing. She gets some information there. That's how it's done. It's news gathering, journalism 101. However, she's like banging coaches. Like, who's to say? She has a special relationship with Mike Vrabel. So when she talks to, well, Sean McDermott's not there anymore, but if she would talk to Sean McDermott, head coach of the Buffalo Bills, or would she get information from Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills? And then would it come out as pillow talk between her and the coach of the New England Patriots? There are a lot of like weird, troubling aspects to this whole thing. But again, she's the only one who's getting in trouble. And Mike Vrabel, who's married with lovely daughters, by the way, I hope Mike Vrabel has not escaped totally from this. Because I promise you, over the past couple of months, Mike Vrabel has taken some shit from his daughters. Not to mention his wife. His wife who was like, if I left you, I would take half of everything. I could burn you down, you. So I'm sure that his personal life, I'm sure that his daughters, my son said something to me the other day, just offhandedly, and I won't repeat it, but he said it offhandedly. We were kind of arguing, and he said it offhandedly. And I will never forget it. I will never forget that my kid said this to me. And it was a criticism of me, but I will never forget that he said this. It changed our relationship forever. There is no going back. And that's we are fine. We move on. But now I know that this is something that you said in a fit of rage, and I'll never forget. I'll go to my grave knowing that you said this, and we'll be fine. We'll move forward, but things happen. And, now things are different. That's got to be how Mike Vrabel feels with his daughters, right? If you are so publicly humiliated as being, just another guy, just another piece of shit guy who cheats on girls and all that, imagine how daddy looks in the eyes of the daughters, Anyway, everything that Diana Russini has done in her career is now under the microscope. And she appeared on the Stugatz podcast, Stugatz & Company podcast, a couple of months back before this whole thing started. And she told a story about how she uses her connections with NFL coaches to get out of traffic tickets. And in the confines, or the context, I should say, of a podcast where it's conversational, that's probably a great little anecdote. That's probably really funny. Like if the question was, hey, do you ever use all the contacts that you have, for anything? And she said, well, it's funny that you should ask. Again, I'm paraphrasing. But I got pulled over once, and I immediately started talking to the officer about what his favorite team was. And she told on the podcast a story about how she got let out of the ticket because she hooked the officer up with the coach of his favorite team. In the podcast, the story concerned the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott. And on the podcast, she said that I just FaceTimed him right there. And then suddenly I'm talking to the cop and I'm holding the phone up and it's Sean McDermott and he let me go. That's the story that she told on the podcast. Fun little story. Well, that's crazy. That's funny. Until, it sees the light of day outside of the context of the podcast conversation. And now you've got people, journalists who work alongside her in the world going, that ain't right. She shouldn't be doing that. She shouldn't be using her familiar relationship with these coaches in such a way. Anyway, that was the great criticism after she told that story. By the way, it was only a criticism after she was outed for having this extramarital affair with Mike Vrabel, head coach of the New England Patriots. Well, people went out and they hunted down body cameras of, any incident involving, I guess, Diana Russini, we got the body cam. She told the story on the Stugotz podcast, and now apparently we have the actual body cam. None of her story was true. Like it didn't even concern Sean McDermott. She probably forgot who the specifics of it, and she just started telling a story. It concerned Kevin O'Connor. Kevin O'Connor is the coach, not Sean McDermott. I know they're both Irish names. You could be confused. Kevin O'Connor of the Minnesota Vikings is the coach in question. And there was no FaceTiming. Let's watch this. This is Diana Russini. She's getting pulled over. This is police body cam. This is the story This is the story she's told on Stugotz. And let's just watch it. I'm always for watching some body cam video. That's fun, right? Let's see here. Here we go. Full body cam. Let's break it down. Again, remember the story she told was that she FaceTimed. The cop said that his favorite team was the Buffalo Bills, and she pulled up Sean McDermott on FaceTime to talk to him and to tell him not to give him a ticket. I think she even said that Sean McDermott told the cop that she's a good girl. Whatever. That's not what happened. Here is what happened.
Yeah. Officer Bernard, would you please should be recording my body camera? Can I just get your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance, please? Yeah.
So you're not gonna care. I'm an NFL reporter.
Right out of the box, she thinks she's better than everybody else. Can you imagine thinking that being an NFL reporter gives you the same sort of luxury that I'm a judge, I'm a surgeon, I'm on my way to save somebody? I hate this woman. I really do. I hate her for so many reasons now. I never had an opinion on her at all. As a matter of fact, I used to think that she was probably all right. But when I saw her pregnant with another man's baby while having an affair going on a boat with Mike Vrabel, I'm just like, you are a witch. And then you named the baby Michael? Did your husband at the time? Imagine her husband. Just imagine her husband. Now you got to look at your son and you'll be like, oh, Jesus, do we need a DNA test? Is this Mike Vrabel's baby? Am I raising Mike Vrabel's baby?
I just broke that Sean McDermott got fired from the Bills, and that is what I was just sending to send a tweet. I was going to pull over because I have to make calls.
Okay.
I know you don't care.
So maybe that's why she got confused. And on the podcast, she said that it was Sean McDermott because the origin, her story here in the moment concerned Sean McDermott. She was pulled over for being on her phone. Why was she on her phone? Because she's a very important NFL reporter, and Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills just got fired. So that means that she should be able to break the law.
But I'm just letting you know my reason why.
Okay.
It was a work thing, and it was an emergency for what I did. I have a more updated license, but just take that so you know I'm not like some crazy person, but you know what I mean.
Thank you.
And I've never gotten into it.
Okay. So, obviously you were on your phone for a while, right? I was on, when you went under the underpass, right? On Garber Square, I was by Library Place. So you're on your phone there. I got behind you, right, by Whole Foods. You continue to be on your phone, right? I understand you have a job.
Of all times. It's like no one expected. Are you football head?
Yeah.
Like, I'm shocked that they fired me. I cannot believe it. No.
I just wish this cop wasn't a football fan so that she could look as crazy as she does. It just so happens that the cop is a football fan, so she's got a connection with him. And it turns out that, well, you'll see.
Was on the toilet?
Who?
Brian Gable. I'm shocked that they fired me. I cannot believe it. You know who was on the toilet?
Who?
Brian Gable.
I don't know what she says before that. She mentions Brian Daboll. Like she's giving this cop inside. I'm cool. I'm giving you insider info. Are you a football fan? You and I can be friends if you let me out of this ticket. And then you can tell people that you're friends with somebody.
They fired me. I cannot believe it. You know who was on the toilet?
Who?
Brian Gable.
Oh, you know who I was on the phone with. That's it. All right. So she's telling the cop, she's like, I'm sorry I was on my phone, but Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills just got fired, which, by the way, was a big deal. Sean McDermott is a good coach. Yeah, the Buffalo Bills have been good. They haven't been able to get across the finish line, so maybe somebody needed, to fall for that, and it was Sean McDermott. But it was kind of a big football story when Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills was fired. What she says here is, and do you know who I was on the phone with? Do you know who I was on the phone? I can't believe it. Sean McDermott just got fired. And do you know who I was on the phone with? Brian Daboll. That's what she's saying. She's saying she was on the phone with former New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll.
Of all times. It's like no one expected. Are you a football fan?
Yeah.
Like, I'm shocked.
No one expected it. Are you a football guy? I mean, I'm shocked. Like, she's looking to see, am I just wasting my time here? Or can I win him over with, my football knowledge?
They fired him. I cannot believe it. You know who was on the phone with?
Who?
Brian Daboll, because he wants the job.
Oh, okay.
Brian Daboll, because he wants the job. There you go. She's just on body cam, betraying Brian Daboll's, wishes. I don't think that was for public consumption. I mean, of course he wants the job. He got fired as the Giants coach.
Are you a fan of Giants or Jets?
I'm not a fan of either. So
What is your team?
I'm a Vikings fan.
All right, so she just asked him, right? Because she's thinking, how do I win him over more? She said, what are you a fan of, Giants or Jets, right? Assuming because, he's a New Jersey state cop or local cop, I guess. I don't know, these statey. He's, so are you Giants or Jets? And he's like, neither. And he says he's a Minnesota Viking fan. Look at her reaction. She's ready for this one.
Unfortunately. Actually, I'm not a fan of either. So
What is your team?
I'm a Vikings fan, unfortunately. Let's see it.
He's into it. He's like, let's see it. She's like, okay. And now she's reaching into her phone and she's trying to pull up what? Okay.
Can you see the name?
Oh my God. KOC?
KOC.
Look what I said to him.
Kevin O'Connell.
Go to the bottom.
Oh my God. Wow. Pretty cool.
I love the Vikings. Chaos is awesome.
Yeah. He seems like a
Your
dude.
quarterback sucks, though.
Also interesting. Diana Russini, JJ McCarthy sucks. Did you just hear her? She would never say that on a podcast or anything like that. Your quarterback sucks. Diana Russini says about who we can assume she means JJ McCarthy.
Love the Vikings. Chaos is awesome.
Yeah. He seems like a
Your
dude.
quarterback sucks, though.
Yeah. So he's got to get it. He's got to fix it. He's got to turn it around or someone else is going to get him. Do you have your registration as well?
Right.
That's what I was going to ask next is like, have you ever gotten points, anything like that? No? All right. You heading home now?
Yeah, I'm going to go on TV and work.
Okay. What channel?
Well, I work for The Athletic, which is like the New York Times.
Yeah.
So that also bothers me. Like she is so about impressing people. She all she needs to say is I work for The Athletic. Okay, you think this fucking cop cares that the New York Times is the parent company of The Athletic? No, but in her world, working for The Athletic means nothing. Being associated with the New York Times, that's a big deal. So she drops that.
You heading home now?
Yeah, I'm going to go on TV and work.
Okay. What channel?
Well, I work for The Athletic, which is like the New York Times.
Yeah.
I'm doing something for Fox.
Which is like the New York Times.
This is the ESPN.
All right. Just give me a minute, okay? Do you have an updated driver's license?
Oh, here.
She doesn't even have. She gave him an expired driver's license. That's illegal in Illinois. Like, you can't have two driver's licenses. You have to surrender your expired driver's license, and you certainly can't present it to anybody, a cop. It's a fine. You got to get rid of that. So you can't walk around with multiple IDs. Apparently, that's not the same thing, I guess, in New Jersey. But she handed him an expired driver's license, and then she had the real one. Watch.
I drove in south 5.5 hours.
Perfect. Here, you can take this one back.
You can take the
All
garbage
right, I'll be
one
right back with you, all right?
Yeah, she's got all her paperwork. I mean, she seems to have a registration and her insurance. So, all right, we don't need to see him in his car. He's going to run her. He's going to find out that she's Not wanted on any nonsense. Let's see how this ends. All right, here we go. This is how it ends.
Who's the registered owner of the vehicle?
It's either me or my husband, Kevin Goldschmidt.
Okay.
Kevin Goldsmith is her husband, who may or may not be the father of her son Michael.
Oh, you live in Whitecall for them? Okay, so just a heads up too, like you do have to update your driver's license, right? The address, because it says you're from Norwood. Okay.
We bought the house like 2 years ago, so I know I got it.
Yeah.
My driver's license doesn't match where I'm currently living, but I'm a vagrant who blows with the wind.
Yeah, so update that.
The real ID too, right?
So.
No, like the new.
Because it says not for real ID purposes. Yeah, it's a pain, but you do have to get that.
I'm not sure it's not an excuse. I literally can't get an appointment. Why is it so backed up?
I'm not.
All right, there you have it. That's all we need to see. She's a bit much. She is just. I don't like her. I don't like her anymore. I used to not have an opinion on Diana Russini at all, other than she was a source for breaking NFL news. Now I don't like her. I just. All right, there you have it. That story is not going away. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? He said, dude, use what you can to get out of a ticket. I'm not going to look bad at her for it. Of course not. Adam, of course not. In this, what did I say, O'Connor? You nitpicky little bitch. You didn't in the moment realize that I said O'Connor instead of O'Connell, and I mentioned his name. I probably fixed it immediately, but your need to be correcty McCorrecterson could not be subdued. You had to say it was clear to everybody that I meant Kevin O'Connell, but you needed to appear better than me. Adam, Jesus, correcty McCorrecterson. Tom is right. Tom Beller, going back to what we said here about Bobby Hull. I kind of glossed over this. He beat the shit out of multiple wives. Yeah, we know that. Bobby Hull's not a great dude. But I was just focusing on the Hitler thing because, he didn't advocate for his policies. He just was inartful in the way that he should have stayed away. All right, he should have stayed away from the Hitler stuff. I'll acquiesce to that. But if we're going to look at what he said, I don't think it makes him a Nazi. I think it makes him somebody who should have kept his mouth shut. All right. That's the Diana Russini thing. Here also, this is interesting. A little bit more sports stuff. We're going to move out of sports stuff here next, but I did want to mention this. It appears that LeBron James has informed this Shan Sharnia, NBA reporter, the Diana Russini of it. No, he's not. Shans says LeBron James will continue his NBA career for the 26-27 season. So he's not going to retire. He's going to play at least one more year, LeBron. And he has informed the Los Angeles Lakers that the franchise can move on without him because he will play elsewhere. And this comes to us from Rich Paul, the guy who runs his Clutch Sports guy. Rich Paul, he's in charge of all of this shit. So that's interesting, right? So LeBron James is certainly not the LeBron James of 5 or 10 years ago, but he's there. He's out there. So where's LeBron James going to go? You would think that he wants to go. He's not going to go to a rebuild. He's not going to go rebuild, right? He's not going to. He probably wants to chase another ring if possible. Or does he want to go back to Cleveland? Is that a thing? Does he want to go back home to Cleveland? I don't know. Anyway, that's interesting NBA news. LeBron James will not be chasing rings with the Los Angeles Lakers anymore. He has announced that he does want to play. He's going to play one more year, but it won't be for the Lakers, and he's told the Lakers as much. Kevin Spacey is in the news only because he did a very, very interesting long-form interview with Bill Maher. Bill Maher, of course, has the long-running. Bill Maher has been on TV since 1991. Do we realize that? Whether it was Politically Incorrect on ABC, which ran for a number of years, and then he was fired from Politically Incorrect for being politically incorrect. I shit you not. I shit you not. The show was called Politically Incorrect. And he said something that was deemed politically incorrect. So ABC, Disney, we can't have anything to do with this guy. The name of the show was anyway, doesn't matter. He was immediately picked up by HBO, and he's been on HBO now, sir, 25 years. Every Friday night, Real Time with Bill Maher. I used to love it. I used to look forward to that show every week. Then during the first Trump term, I couldn't watch it anymore. It was so feckless. It was just nothing but complaining about Trump, and making fun of Trump. And, I'm sitting here watching this going, this guy is a monster who's raping our country. Can we do more than just make little jokes? Can we maybe talk about things of substance? It was all so petty. It was all so I stopped watching him for a bunch of years. I have returned. I've returned, and I am now watching Real Time with Bill Maher again on Fridays because it's a good show. With that said, Club Random is a better show. Club Random, which is free on YouTube, is a weekly long-form interview show where Bill Maher interviews seriously interesting people. It is the same format as Joe Rogan. If you enjoy Joe Rogan's long-form, chopping it up with an interesting person, then you'll enjoy Bill Maher. However, Bill Maher doesn't have like the bad guests. Joe Rogan's got a lot of bad, dumb guests. Just people that are just, really... Bill Maher has major people for the long form thing. Most recently this week, Kevin Spacey, who hasn't spoke to anybody about anything, sat down, had a couple of drinks. That's the other thing about Club Random. Bill Maher sits there and just drinks and gets high and smokes weed, and the guest drinks, and it's very casual. But Bill Maher is a very good interviewer, and he's very good at taking people who are in delicate situations and getting them to open up on the subjects in ways that they usually don't. He did this with Kevin Spacey, and I love Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey is easily one of my favorite actors of all time. I can't think of a movie that Kevin Spacey has done where I've been like, yeah, that sucked. That guy blows. He's terrific. House of Cards is a fantastic show. American Beauty, unbelievable. Usual Suspects as Verbal. My God, is he a good actor? Anyway, Kevin Spacey's a tremendous actor, and I think that I would love to go. I would see Kevin Spacey in a new movie. I'll go see it. That's my point. Okay. Now, Kevin Spacey was run out of Hollywood. They took his career from him because, bullshit. I think it's absolute bullshit. Kevin Spacey was a big name, a Hollywood Oscar regular, an A-lister, a true Hollywood leading man. And they ran him out of town. They ran him out of town because he's a gay man and he was a little bit handsy. And maybe in a couple of situations, he crossed a line or two. But is that the kind of, did that warrant the kind of punishment that Kevin Spacey received? You realize that he went in front of 5 juries and beat them all. Every 5-0 in these cases where people accused him of things. And look, the headlines that surround the cases that are designed to get clicks and sell newspapers, they don't give a shit about the full context of what happened. He's Kevin Spacey. He's an A-lister. So they're going to lead with Kevin Spacey grabbed my dick. That's the headline. No context, no nothing, because Kevin Spacey grabbed my dick is all they're interested in. 5 juries. 5 juries heard these cases. 5 juries decided unanimously that Kevin Spacey did not do anything wrong. I want to see him act again. I was so mad when they canceled House of Cards. That last season of House of Cards where it was just the wife, it was all right. But how incredible would it have been to have another season where Frank Underwood comes back? He was terrific. Also, Kevin Spacey was easy to treat this way because Kevin Spacey was a jerk. Kevin Spacey's not a nice guy. Kevin Spacey was trouble on sets. He was bossy. He was arrogant. He believed that he's better than people. That's how he carried himself. I mean, he's been humbled. I assume he's been humbled because of the events that have taken his career from him. But he was very humble in this interview with, He wasn't the way he used to be. If you remember Kevin Spacey when he would be on, I don't know, Jay Leno or something, he was kind of condescending. He was kind of, yes, well, I'm Kevin Spacey. He was a little arrogant. And apparently that's really who he was. And by the way, Kevin Spacey came from a really jacked up family. His father was a member of the American Nazi Party. Kevin Spacey was raised by a man who was an American Nazi. So yeah, he's probably a little bit fucked up in his interpersonal skills and all of that, but he's a hell of an actor. And that's really the extent of my interest in Kevin Spacey. I don't imagine I'm going to go on a long car ride with Kevin Spacey and have to get along with him in the back seat. Kevin Spacey's going to play a character in a movie, and I'm going to go, that was pretty cool. That character was pretty cool. That's it. It's the long and the short of it. Seems like a jackass, is an incredible actor who I enjoy, and I feel was wrongly persecuted for things that, well, we're going to let him explain it. Anyway, Kevin Spacey sat down with Bill Maher, and Bill Maher's not afraid to ask the real questions. And by the way, you can find this on YouTube, Club Random. It just posted yesterday. Let's watch a couple of these clips here. Kevin Spacey talking about the charges that were brought against him in 5 separate courts. A couple of them federal here in New York. That's the Anthony Rapp one, and I think he's going to discuss it. Anyway, let's check in. Here is an excerpt from Bill Maher's Club Random. Kevin Spacey sits down and talks to him for 2 hours about what Kevin Spacey's been getting.
Is that
it was a small kitchen fire that could have been put out with an extinguisher.
To me, the most important point in this case, and we discussed all the ones, is that at a certain point, the law does have to have some merit with people. You had like 5 ones I heard about, and each time, yeah, that's just the truth. Just they lost. I think you're like 5-0 or something.
We
haven't lost one.
We've been found not guilty in every court we've gone into with a jury.
Right, and one Elton John, didn't he testify?
Well, Elton John testified in a case in Great Britain.
Now, why was he?
Because
what am I saying? Gay? Like right. Gay celebrities hanging out together?
Yeah.
Weird.
No, it wasn't about a party or anything like that. It was about the fact that a person who had accused me of something had also made up something about him, and he felt it was very important that the jury hear that this person.
All right, so I want to talk about this particular case because this concerns the actor, or the young actor in England. Kevin Spacey was the artistic director of the Old Vic Theatre. That's Shakespeare's theater. Shakespeare founded the Old Vic. The original artistic director of the Old Vic was William Shakespeare. Kevin Spacey had this job for 14 years. If you are an actor, that's a cool thing. That means that people think you are capable of walking in the steps of Shakespeare, okay, as an actor or as a theater person. So he was in charge of the Old Vic, and one of the actors there brought charges against him, saying that Kevin Spacey molested him unwanted while in a car going to a party. That Kevin Spacey and him, whether it was a date or not, this guy says he didn't think it was a date. He says that he believes Kevin thought it was. And at some point, Kevin touched his dick in the car, reached over and grabbed his dick. And then after that, apparently there were all these pressures put on him that if you don't hook up with me, I'm the director of the Old Vic. Anyway, all of that stuff was brought public. This guy went public, English newspapers, and all of a sudden, because of the Anthony Rapp situation in New York, which was the first Kevin Spacey thing, and they'll address that in a second, the Anthony Rapp thing hadn't happened or had just happened. So this guy is now like, I'm going to jump in on this, and I'm going to say that he did the same thing to me while he was the artistic director of the Old Vic. Okay, so he told the story. I've seen interviews with him. It was in a documentary about him. Very believable. He was traumatized by this experience. Being hit on by an A-list movie star was traumatizing to this gay man. Traumatizing. So in all of this stuff, all of this buildup, the weeks and weeks of headlines surrounding this revelation that this happened there in England, not once was it mentioned by anybody but that this very same person years earlier had brought similar charges against Elton John and was deemed to have been making it up. That's why Kevin Spacey is like, yeah, Elton John came and testified that the guy who was throwing charges at me had thrown charges at him. And again, they were able to prove that they were completely made up. And so, look, Kevin Spacey's a famous guy and he was vulnerable. And a lot of parasites who were looking to make some money or just, get a name for themselves, they went after him. And as they're talking about here, 5 times these cases went in front of juries. 5 times the juries were like, yeah, this Kevin Spacey guy didn't do anything wrong. There's that one, the old Vic one. I mentioned the Anthony Rapp. Anthony Rapp is an actor, Dazed and Confused, I guess is like where he's most famous from. Maybe Rent. I think he was one of the original stars of Rent on Broadway. Anthony Rapp told a story about how Kevin Spacey tried to have sex with him when he was a teenager, and the entire recollection comes from a very detailed story that Anthony Rapp told to authorities, where he went to a party at Kevin Spacey's apartment, and Anthony Rapp went into a bedroom in the apartment because he was feeling a little bit tipsy because he had been drinking, because these grown men were plying him with alcohol. You went to a party. You were like 15 years old. First of all, why did your parents let you go to an actor's party in Greenwich Village when you're 15 years old? So Anthony Rapp says that he went into a bedroom and that Kevin Spacey followed him into the bedroom, barricaded the door, wouldn't let him leave, and then made all of these sexual advances towards him. Anthony Rapp, that's what he said. That was the original one. It all blew up from there. Well, guess what they were able to prove? They were able to prove in court that entire story is made up, because at the time that Kevin Spacey was living in New York, he lived in a studio apartment. And any party, then by the way, they couldn't find anybody who could say, yeah, I was at this party too. Any party that he would have occurred in a studio apartment. So that jury was like, yeah, Anthony Rapp is making it up. But the way the news covered it, you wouldn't have gotten that. They would have just, oh, he got away with something because he's an actor and he's got good lawyers. No, he's a high-profile guy with deep pockets, and a bunch of parasites tried to. Now, again, Kevin Spacey's probably a jerk. And there's probably a lot of people who are like, we should feel no guilt doing this to him because he's an arrogant prick who's mean to people. That may be true too. Whole lot of things could be going on here. But do I think that Kevin Spacey is a sexual monster, a predator to the extent that he should no longer have a career that me and countless numbers of other people enjoyed? No. You can say anything you want about anybody at any time. Then it gets adjudicated. And when you say something about somebody, that gets the coverage. The accusations get the coverage. We lose interest years later when it finally goes through court. Let's see.
Person was not consistently telling, and he felt it was very important that the jury hear that a person who had accused me of something had also made up something about him, and he felt it was very important that the jury hear that this person was not consistently telling the truth.
All right, there you have it. That's one example. Again, you can watch this for yourself. I know Kevin Spacey is an actor, and maybe he was acting, maybe he was playing the role of a contrite, humble Kevin Spacey. Maybe that was all just an act. I don't know, but I bought it. I'm like, all right, what's this other one? Oh, here. Oh, God, I think I just ruined this one. All right, here he is. He's talking about the Anthony Rapp situation that happened in New York. Oh, also, we can mention the Martha's Vineyard situation. Remember the underage boy who turned out to be the son of some local Boston news anchor, and they brought a charge of sexual harassment against Kevin Spacey? That was the first one. I think that was the first one. That made splashy headlines. You know, that kid didn't even go through with the charges. That didn't, all that was headlines. That was never a court case. Anyway, here he is talking about Anthony Rapp in the situation in New York. Anthony Rapp, of course, the young actor. Oh, hold on. Wait a second. Sorry. I think I got the wrong one. Yeah, there it is. By the way, if you guys are upset about this take about Kevin Spacey, you sure as shit don't want to hear my Woody Allen Soon-Yi prison opinions.
Do you think there's more making up in the gay community?
Making up.
Making up stuff. You said that he made up something about.
Yeah, he made up something about.
And the reason why I assume you've won 5 times is the jury's thought that people were making stuff up.
Well,
not that there wasn't nothing.
No, and there are certain cases where part of something is true, but it's been rethought, it's been redesigned, or it's been entirely made up. Certainly in the case of Anthony Rapp, which is a case that we won in federal court in New York.
Which one was that?
Anthony Rapp sued me. He was the first person to accuse me of something from 31 years before in 2017,
Under
which is
what
why
circumstances? I know that name. I've heard it.
The circumstance was he did an article in BuzzFeed magazine in which he accused me of being attracted to him and wanting to be sexual with him when he was a teenager, when he was just a kid. And it took us until we got to court many years later in 2022 to be able to prove that, in fact, the entire story was not true. The foundation of the story he built around a bedroom in an apartment that he said I rented, in which he'd gone into a bedroom at a party that I threw. He'd been invited to this party, and that at some point, very drunk, I came into that bedroom, leaned against the door, was so drunk I probably wouldn't remember, and that this encounter happened. But as it turned out, and as we proved in a court of law, I lived in a studio apartment. There was no bedroom. There was no door. There was the entire foundation of what he told this story around completely crumbled with the evidence. And also we had incredible testimony by John Barrowman, who was a friend of his at the time and had been to my apartment with him. The only time he'd ever been in my apartment was when they came to meet my dog. So the whole thing was made up.
All right, that's weird. I don't know why a teenager is coming over to your house to meet your dog. That sounds like code for something, but okay. Bill Maher also said something really, really interesting. And I went, boy, that's true. Bill Maher said to Kevin Spacey, do you think that because you're gay, that because this... Here's how I'll say it. I'm going to paraphrase in my own words. We cannot look at situations that occur in the gay male community the way gay men behave in their relationships. We cannot look at that and then take our understanding of heterosexual relationships and project it onto it. Like it's a completely different kind of relationship between two men than a relationship between a man and a woman. And Bill Maher had an incredibly great point on this. He said, take this for example. In the heterosexual community, there is no such thing as a bathhouse. If you're a heterosexual dude and you're horny, there isn't a place that you can go and have sex with a strange woman. Well, it's a whorehouse. You can pay, but that's commerce. The gay community, this is a big part of the gay community, the bathhouse lifestyle. Horny gay guy goes to a bar or goes to a bathhouse, has sex with a stranger, and then they go their separate ways. That is the gay, I'm not going to say romance, the gay sex world is different than the heterosexual world. So when you take things that occur in the gay sex world that are perfectly normal for gay men and all that, but then you ask heterosexual people to respond to it, it's going to seem a little bit hinky because again, it's a different kind of relationship between two men than it is between a man and a woman. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's the same, can be said for a relationship between two lesbians. I don't know. But all I know is when Bill Maher said there is no equivalent in the heterosexual dating world of a bathhouse. He's right. He's right. Gay men are willing to just hook up, maybe because they're men, maybe because men are more free with their sexuality because they don't have the pregnancy problem, right? Women, they can get pregnant. They got to be more responsible. They've got to, Men, spread your seed, whatever. So in the gay community, it's a lot more wilder. And when you look at something like a situation in the gay community, did Kevin Spacey probably shoot his shot with a lot of dudes who weren't interested? Maybe. But that was interesting to me. We cannot look at Kevin Spacey and these relationships in the gay world and then apply what we think is right and wrong in the heterosexual world, because it's a completely different dynamic. It's different. And again, I go back to the bathhouse. There is no such thing. There is no equivalent in the heterosexual world as a place where horny dudes can just go and hook up. Doesn't work. Well, I mean, there are, again, whorehouses, but that ain't the same thing. Horny dudes can hook up with other horny gay dudes for free right now. Probably half a dozen bathhouses here in Chicago, and there's about, I don't know how many there are. And James Parker and I, remember there was some place in Dallas when we were doing Pugs and Parker. We got into a whole bathhouse conversation. I don't know why, but we found like a couple in Deep Ellum. We're like, oh my God, these things happen. All right, there you have it. Kevin Spacey. I enjoyed it. It was 2 hours. I watched the whole thing. Half of it I watched yesterday here in the studio, and then I watched the rest of it last night when I went to bed. I hope Kevin Spacey gets acting work. Kevin Spacey's great. I might be an asshole in real life, but again, separate the art from the artist. I appreciate Kevin Spacey as a character actor, Kevin Spacey as a leading man. I just like him. I just think he's good. All right. What else do we want to get into here? All right. I was going to talk about the citizen vigilante thing from yesterday, because now there's a new story that makes me, it's like MAGA loves citizen vigilante. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, I'm sure we love it for different reasons, but I don't want to do that today, because we're already like an hour overtime. And remember, I'm like, I'm going to do quick shows, because I can't be dedicating this much time to the shows if we're not making any money, if we're not getting any tips. Here we are working on hour 3, and I still have a whole bunch of stuff to get to. So we're gonna jump over that. You know what? Let's jump over a couple of things, and let's get right to 3 videos. Every day we talk about 3 little pieces of video that are circulating that I like to bring to your attention, because I feel I've got something to opine here. All right, 3 videos. The first one comes to us. I love John Carpenter. I don't know if I'm not talking about the guy. I'm not talking about the guy the freeway's named after there in Dallas. John Carpenter. I'm not talking about Bob Crane's friend. Bob Crane, Bob Crane Hogan. He was doing all that weird sex stuff. Bob Crane's buddy who was filming everything. His name was John Carpenter. Not the same John Carpenter. I mean, John Carpenter, the master of horror, the master of whatever you want to say. The mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s, John Carpenter. Halloween, John Carpenter. The Thing, John Carpenter. Escape from New York, John Carpenter. I love him. I love his movies. I love his sensibility as a filmmaker, but mostly I love John Carpenter as a dude. Of all of those people, and he is a significantly successful director in Hollywood. He was big. I mean, Halloween alone, right? That whole franchise was big. He's big. He's never been in any trouble. He's never been accused of anything. And he works in like the blood, kind of like Clive, what was his name? Clive Barker, right? Everybody said Clive Barker was like one of the nicest people in Hollywood. Like you would meet him, he's really sweet and really quiet. And then you see a Clive Barker movie and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is Pinhead? Right? Like Twisted. John Carpenter's kind of like that too. Here's a fun little video. John Carpenter was doing a question and answer session after a screening of one of his movies. He's an old man now. Here he is interacting with a fan, and I'm telling you, John Carpenter's cool. Hold on. John Carpenter interacting with a fan here at some kind of a John Carpenter film retrospective. Let's watch and see how he handles the fan experience, shall we? All right, here we go. Legendary director John Carpenter with a fan.
Ask me something juicy. Come on. All right, how about a juicy question?
All right, which movie, and I'm sure I'll get a bunch of views over this question, but which movie are you more disappointed with ever made? Ghost of Mars or Escape from LA?
All right. So the guy asked John Carpenter, which movie are you more more embarrassed by or more disappointed in, the Mars movie or Escape from LA? Right. That's the question. Which one of these movies that you made that absolutely suck? So it's one of these asshole questions, right? Designed only to get a soundbite response that you can go, gotcha, gotcha. That's what this question is.
Neither. Fuck you.
For him.
Fuck you.
There you go. Fuck, you know what? Fuck you. That's a normal person's response to somebody asking an antisocial question like that. We have been conditioned and programmed over the years to just allow for the media to ask these questions, and we're going to answer them as responsibly and No, fuck you. Fuck you in the way you asked that question, you disingenuous piece of shit. You are obviously trying to get a response out of me, so let me give you a response. Here's the response.
Neither. Fuck you.
Now look at him. Look at the eye contact. Yeah, he's like, yeah, fuck you. Staring, the eye contact. That was an asshole thing for you to say. You phrased it in an even bigger asshole way. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that you're not an asshole. I'm too old for this. You know what? Fuck you. I love it.
Say something juicy.
More people need to have that attitude. All right, the great John Carpenter. Oh, here. Well, check this out. Now, this almost didn't make 3 videos because this is kind of long form and we can watch it, but it's interesting because I don't hate anybody in this scenario. There are 2 people here. It is somebody going door to door. We've all got it. We've all seen this, the door to door. Hey, so who's doing your lawn? Or door to door. Hey, do you have people spraying for mosquitoes? We're offering a deal. And then, right, going door to door with that. So here is, I think it's a bug spraying company. Here is a girl, seemingly a representative of a bug spraying company. She is claiming that she is working next door on a house, and she has come over to the next door house just to let them know what they're doing over there. So if there's any kind of inconvenience, we apologize, while also trying to upsell the neighbor on getting it as well. Watch the way this neighbor handles it, because I'm looking at this girl and she seems delightful. Look, I know that in this scenario, she's a salesperson and she's evil, but you know what? She's also our daughters. She's just a salesperson. She's just a normal person who's got a job, and this is what she's got to do every day. And she's fairly pleasant at it. However, she's going to talk to a guy on a Ring doorbell camera who's kind of funny. So let's watch this. This happens every day in America. But the duplicity of the sale, that's what I don't like. The duplicity here. She is coming to this man's door, theoretically, she opens with, to let him know that we're spraying for bugs over there. And sometimes when we do it, some bugs might come on your property. And if that's the case, well, we're going to be out here again tomorrow. So if you want to pay us to get rid of the bugs that are now going to be on your property because of the work we're doing here, right? Interesting sales pitch. She's going to cause a problem that doesn't currently exist, and then she's going to expect this person to pay for it. I applaud the effort, but this guy is awesome. All right, let's watch this little sales pitch. Let's see how well she does a good job. She does a good job handling it. The guy is funny as hell, though. All right, here we go. All right. Come on. Come on.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
How can I help you?
Yeah, I'm Madison. I'm popping over from your neighbors, actually. We're doing some treatments for them tomorrow, so you might see an increase of the bugs on your home just because we're flushing out their property professionally.
Okay. All right. So that's the opening pitch. Yeah, we're out here doing some work that your neighbors are paying us to do. And in doing this work, we're going to flood your house with bugs. So while we're here, if you want to pay us to get rid of the bugs that we're going to flood your... That's the sales pitch? Ballsy. This dude ain't having it.
Actually, we're doing some treatments for them tomorrow, so you might see an increase of the bugs in your home just because we're flushing out their property professionally. If you don't have someone coming out already this week, we're coming out tomorrow for super cheap.
Super cheap.
So you're gonna flush some bugs over towards my house?
Not on purpose, not intentionally.
Not on purpose. They're paying us to do it. But yeah, you're gonna be like ankle deep in like cicadas and crickets. It's gonna be disgusting. And we're gonna be here. So if you want to pay us to kill them after we put them all over your yard. Seriously though, like wrap your mind around what she is saying. And she's laughing. She's not bad at this. She's not bad. She's controlling the energy. Now he's trying to take charge of the energy. You're going to hear him. He's going to try and make it a little bit darker, but she is going to constantly try and bring it back to, I know it's crazy, isn't it? But we're going to be out here for very cheap.
It's just natural when we do
the house. So you're gonna flush some bugs over towards my house?
Not on purpose, not intentionally.
Not on purpose, not intentionally, but it's gonna happen.
It's just natural when we do the full property for your neighbors.
So what if I don't want no bugs coming over to my house?
Yes, very good question. Right currently, we have no bugs on the property. You are telling me that that my neighbors are paying you to get rid of their bugs and put them on our property, and then you're going to come and you want me to pay to get rid of... Where do the bugs from my property go? Do they go to the neighbor? Is this a domino thing? Look at her. She's laughing it off. She knows how absurd it is.
Are you currently using someone for the summer then?
So this is an advertisement for you to try to get me to take on? You gonna flush some bugs my way now? It sounds kind of crazy. What company are you with?
I'm with Core. We're local to Charlotte. That's a funny way to put it, but I mean, I guess in a sense, like that's how it works. We just do the full property from the curb to the back fence. We'll spray everything, so when we do that, the bugs either die or they try to make it alive and move over to someone else's property.
Well, I'll tell you what. How do you spell that? Corn? C-O-R what?
C-O-R-E.
Core. Okay, Core. And your name is what?
Madison.
Madison. Okay, Miss Madison. If I see an excess of bugs that flows over from my neighbor's property to mine, you're going to come and get them off of mine too.
Okay. Well, like I said, we are coming out for them tomorrow. And we're doing it for super cheap. Are you working with a company?
And we're doing it for super. Yes, we will get rid of them for super cheap.
Look, I promise you, if I see some excess bugs, you need to worry about, because I don't have a bug problem. But if I have some after tomorrow, I know who to call.
They don't have a bug problem either. It's just natural.
Okay, but I'm just you rung my bell. You rung my bell and said you're about to spray my neighbor's property, and there might be an excess. There might be an overflow of bugs come over to my property.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't have any bugs on my.
This is gaslighting. She is gaslighting him. She is pretending with a smile and her attempts to control the energy of the interaction. She is pretending that it's perfectly rational for you to accept that you have no bugs, you will have bugs tomorrow, and it's because of me that you'll have bugs tomorrow, but that's okay because you can pay me to get rid of the bugs. She is pretending this is normal and that this is a completely obvious and, well, I guess we're going to just pay for bug removal kind of a deal. That is gaslighting. This is an absurd thing that she is presenting, and she's presenting it like it's perfectly rational. That's gaslighting. Because this guy's going, wait, This is fucking nuts. That doesn't make sense. And she's going, of course it does. It's totally natural. You're insane for thinking it doesn't make sense. That's gaslighting. That is exactly what's happening here.
Property. So since there might be an overflow of bugs come over to my property.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't have any bugs on my property. So when they come, you come get them off.
Okay, I will give you my card. We don't come out for free, but I will give you my card if you're.
Hey, you're gonna come out for free? I promise you. I got your picture and your information. You're gonna come out for free if you send some bugs to my property. What kind of advertisement? Wait a minute. What kind of advertisement is this? You know, my wife's gonna be pulling up in a few minutes. What kind of advertisement is this that I'm spraying your neighbor's property and for real cheap? If any bugs come over, we could get them off your property too.
No idea how long the mics were off. No fucking idea how long the mics were. Mics just went off on their own. They just went off. No idea. No. All right. Again, don't hate salespeople, man. I mean, I know it's a thankless job and they're asked to do some really duplicitous things. There are no jobs, people. There are no jobs. That's all it's going to be. That's all. It's, the entirety of the American workforce in a couple of years is just going to be one American trying to hoodwink another American out of whatever they got in their pocket. That's going to be it. Everybody we see, we're just going to try and get whatever's in their pocket. All right. That's the door-to-door bug spraying. Here's another one. Here's an interesting video. This is our third video. This is a live streamer. Live streamers do all the crazy stuff. So this is a live streamer, and he's in a club. And you can live stream in a club. Like I wouldn't think that. I mean, the noise. I don't know how this works. I don't know. Apparently, they got better tech than I do. Here is some dude. He's live streaming from a club, and he's just making out with random chicks. And it kind of got weird. Here you go. Let's watch this. Our third of 3 videos today.
How old are you, by the way?
24. Is that
22?
No, 24.
Oh my god, he's old as fuck.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
Nah, Cap. No, I'm out of here, bro. Nah, bro. Bro, what the fuck, bro?
All right. I don't know if it was staged or not. Probably was. But yeah, that dude was just on a live stream making out with a child. I don't know why she's in the bar. Let's watch it again. He's 24. It was a problem when she said, "How old are you?" And he goes, 24. And she goes, "You're old as fuck." Oh my God. He should have panicked right at that moment. What do you mean old as fuck? What do you mean 24 is old as fuck? How old are you?
How old are you, by the way?
24. Is that
22?
No, 24.
Oh my god, he's old as fuck.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
Nah, Cap. No, I'm out of here, bro.
Put him in jail. Put him in jail. All right. That's it. That's it for the 3 videos today. I'm starting to have a sight problem. But, you know, at my age, when things get weird, you're like, oh, great, eyeball cancer. I've got eyeball cancer. No, I know what it's from. It's from these lights. I gotta kill these lights, guys. These lights are angled in a way that I do not like it. So what the hell? We're at the end of the show. So let me just kill these lights. Oh, good Lord. All right. Let's see here. All right. How about this one? We'll do Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. This is how we wrap up each and every show. But before we do, I want to one more time throw out there to our friends who support this show and make it a thing. I want to appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you to Maddie. She tipped first tip in days. Thank you, Maddie. It was a big one too. Maddie doesn't tip. With all due respect to people who tip like $1, some do. Maddie did 50 times your tip. So thank you, Maddie. That's the kind of tip that actually gets a bill paid. Appreciate you. Maddie helped out. Jen H helped out. Leslie C helped out. Tracy D. Peter, still MIA. I am hoping that Peter is on vacation somewhere. Peter, Barney, Mama B, Heidi, and April. Thank you, folks. Again, if you want to join and get your name on the wall of, what are we going to call that? The wall of fame? The wall of excellence? We won't take your name. Hey, if any of you guys tip the show and then murder your wife or your husband, I'm not going to take your name down. Your name is up there. We don't do revisionist history. You tipped the show and you murdered your wife. Make of that what you will. Life is complicated. Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. I like to bring attention to America's great game. I love baseball. You want to hear something that's great about baseball? Here's what's great about baseball. So I told you that my kid and I had a really big fight. On Sunday night. It was ugly to the point that I went to sleep at like 7 o'clock. Or when I say went to sleep, I went up to my room. I retired to my chambers. I went to my room. I was like, forget it. We're not talking. We didn't talk all night. And then the next day, all day, Monday, I did the show. After the show, I went out there. He's playing his PlayStation or whatever. And icy, we're not talking to each other. We're very, very sort of here's the extent of our conversation. I'm making tacos for dinner. I'm going to leave them out for you. Okay, thanks. That's it. Like it was really icy because we got into some like pretty big stuff last night, father-son stuff, Sunday night. And it was, family is family's tough sometimes. So we were both very hurt by the way the argument went. That lasted all day yesterday until 5:30 when I put on the White Sox game. The White Sox game came on and I walked into the living room and I said, it's time to watch the White Sox game. I'm going to watch the White Sox game. Remember, we hadn't spoken to each other. And he wanted to watch the White Sox game too, because he's a fan too. We sat there for about 3 innings. Not speaking, just watching the game. And then slowly over the course of the game, little things would happen. And he would make a comment. And then I would comment on that comment. And then I'd make a comment. And he'd laugh. And by the 7th inning, we're just like two normal people watching a baseball game. So no matter how much bullshit we had between us, and I'm not saying that the bullshit is gone, it's still there. Things don't leave. I like to think that I can get over an issue. I can move on. I can make the emotional choice to move on. But sometimes things linger. It all went away. Me and him watching baseball. That was it. No bullshit. Nothing was brought up from the night before. It was just two people bonding over a shared appreciation for something. And I think that's kind of why I think baseball is so magical, because unlike football, I don't have any of these memories of, people who are long since gone from this plane of existence. Right? I mean, I went to baseball games with people who've been dead for 30 years. I played catch with. There is just something intrinsically magical. And maybe this is. No, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say maybe this is a father and son thing, because I know that that's the programming is, Field of Dreams, father, son, have a catch, all of that. But women too. I know a lot of girls who just have this sort of weird bond with baseball. Anyway, I wanted to mention that. And that's one of the reasons why I like to talk about it, because, and maybe it has to do with the fact that the sport is so slow, in that it is something that you have to dedicate 2.5 hours to nowadays with the pitch clock. You have to dedicate 2.5 hours to, and you have to sit and you have to watch. and you have to pay attention to balls and, challenges and the slow moving nature of the game. And because of that, there is ample opportunity for two people who are sitting there watching it together to sort of interact. Maybe in a way that's different in other sports. I don't know. But I do think that the slow play and the strategic nature of baseball, I don't know, allows for people to connect more, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I do Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. My eyes are really messed up. I have this crazy white glare. It's like somebody is shining spotlights into my eyes right now. So sorry about that. It is very distracting, but I'm a professional and I will rise above. The problem is I can't read any of my notes. I can't read shit because everything is super blurry. All right. Anyway, here's a nice one. We've actually got two here. We've got a Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark classic, and then just another Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark addendum to something we've been talking about pretty regularly. This is pretty great. This comes to us from the Pirates game. This is an ad for baseball. Like Major League Baseball needs to start packaging this kind of stuff. So it's a bunch of little kids there in the outfield there here at the Pirates game. And it's this kid's birthday. It's one of these kids' birthday. And he's out there with his boys. Look at this. This is right out of Stand By Me. Look at these dudes. All right, so it's this kid in the white shirt's birthday, and all of his boys are trying to get the attention of the Pirates outfielder to give him a ball. Watch this.
Look, they were saying it's his birthday. Baseball.
Yeah, good
birthday,
job.
And Brian Reynolds, yeah.
Birthday ball.
Birthday gift.
Look at him. Look at that. That is pure joy. That is the joy of someone who doesn't have to worry about taxes. That is the joy of someone who only worries about what's for dinner and how many more days of summer vacation do we have left. That is pure joy. I just love this. But mostly his buddy, the shirtless guy. This dude is ride or die for life. Look at how excited he was when his buddy, whose birthday it was, got the ball. It's real. There's no phoniness here. It's real.
Look, they were saying it's his birthday. Baseball.
Yeah, good
birthday,
job.
And Brian Reynolds, yeah.
Birthday ball.
Birthday gift. They're fired up. That's a great shot.
That is a great shot. That is incredible. The kind of thing that would make me cry. By the way, look at my eyes. I'm not. I'm. It's not because of that. It's because I'm having a weird eye thing. And I shouldn't scare anybody. This isn't like out of the blue. This happens from time to time when I spend too much time in front of the big giant lights. I go blind for about a half hour until my eyes regulate. All right, there's the first one. Now this next one here, Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. I wanted to do this one because it fits a theme of the last couple of days. The getting hit in the nuts theme, right? Okay, so I've been showing you a lot of examples. People getting hit in the nuts. We had Jazz Chisholm of the New York Yankees. He fouled a foul tip off the home plate, and it went right into his nuts. None of these guys were jocks anymore. I don't get it. Went right into his nuts, looked really painful. Then we had the situation from the White Sox-Kansas City Royals game over the weekend where a bunt was laid down along the third baseline, and the pitcher fielded the bunt and tried to make a play at third base and just threw a rocket at the nuts of the third baseman, threw it way too hard for as close as he was, and he went down. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with all of these like nut shots? Well, it's not limited to only the players. That's right. Watch this. Fans are now taking it in the nuts at baseball games. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, I say, unless you take a shot to the nuts.
On the way. Line drive deep to left. Cordoba back, and it's a grand slam for Carter Grant.
Now we're going to have to slow this down because I'm not sure if this ball just collided with his nutsack, full velocity falling from the heavens, or if it bounced off the ground and then went into his nuts. But holy shit, man. This is crazy. Let's watch it one more time.
Deep to left, Cordoba back, and it's a grand.
think it hits him directly in the nuts. A grand slam is right.
Drive deep to left, Cordoba back, and it's a grand slam for Carter Graham.
The ball hit a fan in a not very friendly area.
On the way. Line drive deep to left, Cordoba back, and it's a grand slam for Carter Graham.
The ball hit a fan.
The reaction.
Graham. The ball. Slam for Carter.
Okay, here's the collapse.
Slam for
oh,
Carter.
why can't I get the collapse? Here we go. Here's the collapse.
But back, and it's a grand. Back, and it's a back, and it's a grand slam for Carter. Back, and it's a grand slam for Carter. Back.
Ladies, here's a little fun fact. At least the way I'm looking at it, the direct hit from the ball didn't cause him to collapse. I believe the collapsing was preventative. He knew what was coming in the next couple of seconds. He knew the building pain that was coming. So he decided to just lay down there. But I don't think it was the direct hit from the ball that made him collapse. That was purely because he knew what was coming in the next 45 seconds.
Grand slam
for
Carter Graham.
Oh, God, this is going to hurt.
Hit a fan in a not.
Do girls know that? Do girls know that amount? Testicle swipes, that it's not like instantaneous, that we're given a good 10 seconds after we get clucked in the nuts. We're given about 10 seconds to prepare for what's coming, and it comes, and then it's like, oh God, here it comes. It's almost like eating a jalapeno. Like, you ever seen anybody eat a jalapeno and they're like, there's nothing, I could totally eat this. Give me another one. Hold on, like there's a little bit of a delay. That's what happened.
Very friendly area.
Hitting the nuts. Also, when it comes to getting hit in the nuts, and again, I'm only speaking from personal experience. When it comes to getting hit in the nuts, it doesn't matter if it's a direct hit or not. A grazing of the testicle is going to cause the exact same amount of pain as if you were just punched square in the nuts. I'm not kidding. A grazing. I once got grazed in the nuts with a wiffle ball. It didn't even hit directly in the nuts. It just grazed my nuts. I've never played wiffle ball again. Never played wiffle ball again. A wiffle ball. Do you know what a wiffle ball weighs? I don't know, like 2 houseflies. That's how much a wiffle ball weighs. And it didn't even hit me directly. It just grazed my ball sack, and it was terrible. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if I like that. All right, guys, we are done with the show. I appreciate you. We'll come back tomorrow. I've got an hour and a half. I appreciate this. I appreciate this, Al. But tell my kid. Tell my kid. He's probably going to have a... No, we're fine. We're fine. But it was, going back to the situation with my kid that I was talking about earlier, it really was. By the way, my eyes are completely fine now. My eyes have completely readjusted. I'm good. It was the sitting down in a room, not talking bullshit, not being mad at each other, and just individually watching the baseball game that brought us together. Baseball. It was just baseball. Tom knows. Grazing is worse, Tom says. Of course, Adam, contrary McContrarian, grazing hurts less. There's the grazed. Oh, shut up. Me and Tom are on the side that says grazing hurts more. All right, men, does grazing hurt more, or is it a direct? I guess my overall point is that there's no difference, that a grazing hurts as much. Because if somebody takes a hammer to your nuts, that's going to hurt, right? That's still going to hurt. I don't want to do this. This is uncomfortable. I had testicular torsion when I was a kid. That's terrible. I don't even know what that is, Al. I don't know what that is. Don't need to know. Not interested. All right. Sounds terrible. Hey, by the way, can I just say this? So for the last 2 weeks, it's been 2 weeks, about 3 weeks now since my kid came back. I wrapped up my re-binge of The Sopranos. That show's so great. I mean, I've seen it all the way through now like 5 times. And seriously, when I finished the final episode of The Sopranos and Don't Stop Believin' comes on, where it then fades to black, my first thought was, how long do I need to wait before I can restart with season 1, episode 1 again? How long? Because honestly, I'm on about an every 6-month clip. Like every 6 months, I'm like restarting The Sopranos again. Anyway, it was so good. Before I jumped into The Sopranos re-binge, I did Game of Thrones, right? I rewatched all of Game of Thrones. So, new season of House of Dragon, which is the Game of Thrones prequel series. So I'm like, oh man, I don't even remember season 1 of House of Dragon. So I decided that I would rewatch season 1 and season 2 of House of Dragon, 18 episodes. And I'm all caught up. I am all caught up on House of Dragon. And I have one observation that I want to share with people. Now, this is only for the people who understand the universe of Game of Thrones, Ice and Fire, House of Dragon. If you understand that universe, I have this question for you after being completely caught up on House of Dragon. House of Dragon, by the way, takes place 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones. So if you're watching Game of Thrones, understand that House of Dragon is 200 years before Game of Thrones, right? So here's my question after getting all caught up on House of Dragon. How many times can House Lannister choose the wrong side of history, lose the war, and yet still retain their massive wealth, power, and influence? Every single storyline that I've seen from Game of Thrones has a Lannister on the wrong side of shit. The side that loses, whether we're talking about Game of Thrones or even now House of Dragon. And the House of Dragon occurred 200 years before Game of Thrones. In the universe of Game of Thrones, the Lannisters are the wealthiest and most powerful family in the 7 kingdoms. 200 years before that, in House of Dragon, they should have been ended. They chose the wrong family. How many times are they allowed? Well, money talks, I guess. I guess they lose a war and then they have money and they give money to the people who won and then suddenly they're back up on top. Anyway, I'm all caught up on that. So good. It's so good. I used to think that House of Dragon was lesser than Game of Thrones, and it's not lesser. It is different. It is a very different sensibility. House of Dragon is darker and more violent and more spooky. And not spooky, darker. The tone is darker. The vibe is darker. Game of Thrones was very light. There was a lot of humor in Game of Thrones. There was a lot of fun little side characters. There are no fun side characters, except for I think Hull. There's a guy who's a peasant who it turns out he's a bastard Targaryen. This is House of Dragon. There's a guy, he's a peasant, and it turns out he's part Targaryen, and that means that he's a dragon seed, which means the dragons will be nice to him, that he can ride a dragon if he can be taught to drive. Anyway, that guy's hysterical. The peasant who is now suddenly a knight and a dragon rider, he's very funny. He's very funny because he's a peasant and he's funny. Anyway, that's it. That's the only comic relief that I've been able to find in House of Dragon as opposed to Game of Thrones. Anyway, they're both very good. They're both very good, both very different. I guess that's it. All right. I love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. As I like to remind you, this show doesn't work for free. You have to tip in order for us to keep going. So please, if you're so inclined, drop a little something, either in the Venmo or the Cash App. I will be eternally grateful to you. And you will be able to put your name up on the Wall of Fame, which will always be there. I'm going to start adding the amounts. I think that's the next thing. Somebody said you should do that. You should add the amount. People who really are tipping should be commended. Now, I never wanted to do that because I didn't want to create any sense of, oh, I can't tip that much, therefore I must not be that important. Because I've always felt, no, anybody who reaches in and supports this show is important. But I was also told that the people who are tipping really well, it needs to be acknowledged. Now, I decided that I wasn't going to do it, but I do want to thank Maddie who dropped a big tip. It was a big tip. It was a big tip. And thank you very much. All right. I've got to run out right now. I've got a very busy day ahead of me. Me and the boy have to go, and I'll tell you about it tomorrow. In the meantime, here's what I want out of you folks. I want you to stay neighborly. Bye.